Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 362. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my good friend and co-host Jim, the sensei of the Whatnot Segulin, and the Duke of You-Know.
How's it going, eh?
And I kind of stayed away from the silliness on this one because I just want to give a quick shout out. I know that it's been posted on various social media and on our website and stuff like that. My mother passed away on Sunday, and the reason why I'm even bringing it up at the start of the show is so many of you, either now or in the past, you know, as you found out my mother was ill with cancer, have reached out as friends or with well wishes or thoughts or things like that. And I just want to say how much that has meant. I'm really excited to be recording here tonight. It's one of the reasons why we've been so erratic is because, you know, I've had a lot going on personally on the end. But one of the reasons why we go to comics and science fiction and fantasy and television and dramas and things like that, it's escapist fantasy. It's escapist fiction. And the work that these creators put together for us is kind of our chance to escape from all that. My mother was an amazingly wonderful parent in the sense that if she saw me engaged in reading and happy and excited and really enjoying what I was doing, she supported that. You know, because she, you know, saw the benefit of, wow, you know, if he's having a bad day at school or something like that, to be able to go into this world, you know, this is a positive break from the normal stresses. And that's always what comics have been to me. So it's kind of cool, and this podcast in many ways, I've referenced her so many times, has been a dedication to her. But I just wanted to kind of shout out, thank you to all of the listeners. Jim, you have been, as always, an amazingly supportive friend. And I hope you really enjoy the show today, because we're going to jump into talking about some current news topics, some television animation, and continue our look at Trinity War, which we'll be wrapping up our next episode. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network and the League of Comic Book Podcasts. Sponsoring us this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. It is the end of August, beginning of September with this recording, and they're going to be doing the shift over at DCBService.com, and they have always specials up to 75% off of new material. It is your comic book pre-order source. And remember, if you haven't had a chance to do it, if you do any digital shopping, make sure to link your accounts from Comixology and iVerse Media to your DCB Service account. It doesn't cost you anything more to do it, but you earn 5% off of each purchase in DCB Service credit. So it's a great way to gradually build credit that you can use towards single issues or that trade or that hardcover that you've been looking for. It's a great way to earn more money, and it actually supports one of our show sponsors, so please consider doing that. There's a link right at ragingbullets.com for that. Be sure to be checking out over the course of the next week or so as they put up the new deals for the month, because it's my favorite time of the month to see what kind of deals I can be saving out at dcbservice.com. Over at their sister site, InStockTrades.com, they have the Absolute Superman Batman hardcover Volume 1. This collects issues 1 to 13 of the Landmark series written by Jeff Loeb with art by Ed McGuinness, Michael Turner, and Pat Lee. This is a 336-page book. It's a $99.99 book regularly, 50% off only $49.99. at InStockTrades.com. So make sure to check out that deal for yourself. If you haven't read those issues, or if you have them and haven't read them in a while, this is an amazing way to enjoy them. So I want to thank our show sponsors for providing those amazing deals. James, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on the show. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
So, who's got a camera? Ooh, get one of me and the kid first. Then you and me, then the three of us, and then one with the crowbar. Then...
Jim, in our time away from recording, big news. Superman Batman, or Batman Superman, or whatever they're calling it. It's Batman versus Superman or something, I think is the tentative title, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah.
They announced that Batman's going to be Ben Affleck. And it's been interesting, the internet reaction to this. I got to admit that I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen definitely how mixed it is. There's some people that are against it. Actually, when I say mixed, there's probably like 3 categories: people that are against it, people that are for it, and people that kind of fall in the middle that are kind of like wait and see. So I thought it'd be kind of a fun topic point to start off with. Actually, you brought this up as being something we should start talking about today. Where are you at with the whole Ben Affleck thing?
When they first announced it, I was in the, okay, let's wait and see. Then as I started just doing some reading and looking into it, and actually really started a soul searching on Ben Affleck, I'm actually pro Ben Affleck. Mm-hmm. And here's why. You think about a comic book movie. To me, the most important part is the script, is the writing of it, is just the theme and the feel for it. This creative team, they know how to do these superhero movies. They know how to do Batman. They know how to do Superman. And I think we're going to get a solid base for it. You look at Ben Affleck. He's got the right look for it. He could pull off the millionaire playboy Bruce Wayne, and I think he could probably pull off the hardcore Batman as well. He's got a physical presence to him. Is he super bulky? No. But do you want that for Batman? No, you don't. You want a physical, athletic build who also could pull off a pretty boy look. And I think that's a good description of Ben Affleck. I think he could handle this physical style. And then you started doing just a little bit more reading and people talking, and the various actors who have come out in his defense it's pretty much been you know what? It's not that difficult of a role to play. He can do it. He's got the chops for it. And basically anybody with trained acting can pull this off. And I agree with that. I think he could pull this off. And people who have thrown out the whole, look how he did on Daredevil. I'm like, yeah, look how he did on Daredevil 10 years ago. So you're telling me in 10 years he's learned absolutely nothing? And also, I kind of like Daredevil, but I liked the director's cut better than the actual theater release. Why? Because the director's cut, actually went more in depth into the character, went more into the hero, went more into his life in and outside of the mask. And, once again, it was a direction on script and a direction on editing that kind of, to me, ruined his part as a Daredevil. I think we've got a solid actor who can play a superhero character, who actually enjoys the genre. So there's another plus. And we've got a creative team behind it that knows what they're doing. This could be a really good Batman. This could be an outstanding movie. I am still looking forward to it, eagerly anticipating it.
There's one part I'm going to disagree with that you said, and it's not something that you said. It was said globally. A lot of the Hollywood actors that have stepped up to defend him feel this need to diminish the role of Batman in order to say, well, Ben Affleck, he was in Argo, which is amazing. I love Argo. To me, it's movies like Argo, where we've seen Ben Affleck step up and really, when he's hit with a quality script and a meaty role, he's shown his chops. That makes me believe he can handle the complexities of Batman. I don't consider Batman an easy role to play. If it was, we wouldn't have so much controversy over who's their favorite actor that played Batman or why people didn't like certain actors who played Batman. It's because it is a very complex character role. And when people understand that it's a complex role and understand the duality of the character and that the playing Bruce Wayne is very different than playing Batman, and playing Bruce Wayne when he's with Alfred is very different than playing Bruce Wayne when he's in the public eye. I think Ben Affleck has shown in recent roles that he is exactly the type of actor that can handle the complexities of a character that has 3 or more very different, distinct personas. And I think he will do a very, very good job in that role. I'm excited for it. It was funny how I'm like you. When it was first announced, I was kind of in the middle ground. The more I started thinking about things that I've seen him in recently, I'm like, okay, especially Argo, because I really liked Argo. We're seeing an actor who has grown and matured. You also mentioned something else that I agree with. The people that are behind this and the need for quality scripts and the fact that they're not settling for less than a stellar quality script is really important to me. I loved Man of Steel. I've been loving what's been going on with the Batman movies recently. So when you've got that kind of backing and that kind of mentality driving this film between these characters, you're going to have an actor, a couple of actors, who can take on the role of Superman and Batman, and when they're given the right script, can deliver. I liked Daredevil just like you did, and I totally agree with your sentiments on the director's cut being a better film. I still will say that Daredevil's script, compared to some of the recent superhero scripts that we've seen, was not quite to the same level. Good movie, with the potential for it to be great. I would have loved to have seen Ben Affleck have the opportunity to play Daredevil with a great script, not just a good script.
Oh, definitely. Again, and that's, a movie that's 10 years old, where they've learned, and as process is going on, they're learning from what they have to do, how they have to do it. And you think about it, one of the two things that really rang in my head were, one, when Heath Ledger was first identified as going to be the Joker, the outrage and this is terrible, just all the negative comments that came about him, especially when they had that first image of the Joker. If you remember back when they first released that still shot of him, everyone just hated that. And there was, and I'm talking a heavy outcry against this. Turns out he's arguably the best Joker out there. Mm-hmm. Heck, the guy got an Oscar for the award. So that right there tells me, huge thing about, what? You got to see how it happens. The other thing that rings in my head was I saw an interview with Gary Oldman when they were talking about Jim Gordon and all this stuff. And you and I know you feel the same as I do. That's probably the best interpretation, the best portrayal of Jim Gordon out there. And it was spot on, perfect to what I thought Gordon should be. Someone asked him, how did you get ready for the role? And his basically said, I just followed the direction. He really didn't, do the heavy dive into the character. He really didn't have a strong understanding. He knows, knew he was a cop. He got a good feeling from him, but he got all that from the script. He got all that from the director. He got all that from the creative forces behind it. And I think that, again, shows, if you got a talented actor and strong guidance, you can get an amazing character. And I think we're going to get that with Batman versus Superman. We're going to see that because we have a strong actor and we've got good guidance. I think this is something that, we as the comic book fan community need to take a step back. And if, I'm not going to tell somebody, hey, you're wrong. This is my opinion. You have yours. But we're also, people are judging a movie that hasn't even been filmed yet. Mm-hmm. I think that's the first step. We got to recognize that, what? Not only has we still in the beginning phases of it, they haven't even filmed the movie yet. So how can you say it's the worst movie ever?
Well, and here's the thing. In my opinion, like Henry Cavill, when he was first in the role, and people saw the costume, there was controversy with the costume. These are a lot of things that are taken out of context will drive people's thoughts. To me, I think nowadays we're in an era where you're getting your superhero movies that are not just being, the actors are not just being, and actresses are not just being picked because of their names. They're being picked because of the ability for them to be seen by the director, by the casting crew, by the script as the person to bring that role to life. They're making very careful choices on who these people are and not relying on a name brand alone, if that makes sense. So, Ben Affleck happens to be a known quantity, but I don't think he was chosen because he's a known quantity. He was chosen because they took a look at a whole bunch of people and said, hey, this is the guy. This is the guy for that role. They go through this with James Bond. They go through this with Doctor Who. They go through this with a lot of roles where the character, or the actor, I should say, playing the character changes. And people freak out from the get-go. And then once you start seeing the content actually being delivered, you realize that the people behind the scenes nowadays are getting a lot more savvy. And I think it is happening in sci-fi and superhero films and all that a lot more, where script, casting, directors, and actors are, it's all together. There's an energy there where you're not, the best movies are the ones where the people behind the scenes have a plan and they see somebody who fits the nature of the script. I think he's going to do a great job. I really do. I went from being kind of okay to being really excited about him very fast, because of some of the complex roles that he's played recently. I liked him in Daredevil. I'm with you. I don't think it was a great movie, but I don't think that was on him as much as I think it was a good script in the director's cut. And I agree with you. Like, I can't even comment on the regular cut anymore because I own the director's cut, so I've seen the director's cut a few times, and it's rewatchable to me. I enjoy watching the film again, which says a lot. It's a good movie. Not every superhero film I rewatch. And that is one, the director's cut of that, I do rewatch and I do enjoy it. I know it takes a lot of flack, but that's my opinion. So somebody listening to this who maybe like me, and you like that director's cut, that's where a lot of my thought process is coming from, because I thought he was good in that film and it was a good script. I would love to see him have an opportunity to tackle a superhero character with a great script.
Now, what do you think about the rumors of Bryan Cranston for Lex Luthor?
Oh my God, that is the greatest thing ever. Like, that's there. Like, was there any hesitation in your mind when you heard that?
Well, here's the thing. I really like Breaking Bad, and I think he's very talented, and I think he would do an amazing job of it. Again, talented actor, good crew, but I don't know, part of me just wanted them to kind of go a different route with it. Maybe do a younger, full of head hair Lex Luthor for the intro, and then he loses his hair by the end of the movie, and we start, kind of like the puppet master manipulator, where in the first movie, outwardly, people don't realize he's the villain. Because you think about Smallville, why did we love that Lex Luthor so much? Because he started off as, Clark's friend. He started off as an innocent and honest person. And as time went, the corruption, the turning, the evilification of Lex Luthor happened.
Except
you can't do it.
Wait,
what?
hey, there's one thing I want to correct you on that. You're using Smallville. Look how long that was developed. You're not going to have that time.
I know we won't have that kind of length of time, but that's why in my head, I'm thinking multiple movies. You do the second movie where you introduce Lex Luthor, but you don't have him be the main villain. You don't have him, you have this appearance that, okay, this is really an honest guy, and then as, like behind the scenes or the audience who's watching it, we see the truth, but the people on screen don't see it. That kind of play, kind of game. And
here's my problem with that, though.
Okay.
This is a Superman movie. Now, hang on. And I know developing the villain's important as well. But here's what you're going to have with that scenario, and it's where I disagree with it. I agree with your reference to Smallville. The brilliant part about Smallville being a television series is you can take time to develop multiple characters over the course of multiple seasons because you've got a lot of time and space to do that. So you're not abandoning the main character. They were building a relationship between Clark and Lex where there were whole episodes devoted to the two of them together as friends that led to that journey. In this film, you can't develop that relationship without, sacrificing the development of a lead villain, Bruce Wayne and Batman in this one. Where are you going to fit that in the background without people going, okay, why are we spending all the time developing Lex Luthor and he's not doing anything? I agree with you that I love seeing that journey with Lex. I think it's a great journey. And to see it through multiple films would be great. I think geeks like you and I would enjoy that. But I think when you're trying to get the average movie-going audience, it's saying, hey, we need the story to cook. Look at the criticisms of Man of Steel. You put that in there, people are going to say, wait a minute, we were critiquing stuff like this in Man of Steel, how there were times where the movie dragged and there was, too much of this, too much of that. You do that with Lex in the background, people are going to say, when are we going to get to Lex doing something already? Because it's a film. I think there's a different mindset when people walk into a film experience than when they walk into a television series. I would love to see, they mentioned with the Dark Tower, and I know this has been abandoned, but originally there was plans, Ron Howard was involved in it. They were going to take Stephen King's Dark Tower series and do a television series and a series of films where the things that didn't work on film would be developed in an ongoing television series as well. I would love to see something like that with this, where we could get the kind of delivery that you're talking about and the kind of journey that you're talking about with characters, even, let's take not just Lex, the whole Daily Planet, Lois Lane, whatever. It'd be great to see all that stuff developed on TV and then, payoffs on the big screen. And I would love to see that kind of thing developed so we could get it. I don't know that what you're talking about would be able to be developed in a film in a way where people wouldn't complain. And I don't know if you're seeing it differently, and I certainly want to give you a chance to respond to that, because maybe you're seeing it differently than what I'm saying. That's my only issue, would be pacing of that. How do you deliver that without having people go, but I don't understand the villain that's currently in the film because you spent so much time on Lex?
Actually, that's a definite viable, issue, and that would be something they would have to develop and deal with. Now, I don't think I could actually craft a story like that. That's something that you would have to watch out for. Now, in my head, the way I would see it going down is one of a couple possibilities. It could just be simply, Lex is there, and then at the end of the movie, you do the rolling credits, and now you know the rest of the story type of thing. Now you think about, like, with the Scream movie, how they showed that Wild Things movie, where they showed just those extra little scenes where you actually see, okay, Lex manipulated this villain, Lex manipulated this situation, Lex, and by the end, after the movie's done, and as those final credits are rolling, you're seeing, holy crud, Lex Luthor was the villain the entire time, which sets up the next movie where Lex is the main villain. Lex wouldn't be the main villain of this movie. It would be whoever they have, however they're going to play this out, whether it's going to be Superman versus Batman as the main villains, or if they're going to introduce another villain to be the piece that brings those two heroes together. I'm not sure what their mindset is on the movie.
So are you saying, like, you'd see him like in what the Perry White role was, where it's kind of a background role, there was some development of Perry White, but, like, we're not focusing heavily. Like,
exactly.
Perry White, there wasn't a lot. I really liked what Lawrence Fishburne did with the character. I liked that the character was not overused. I mean, you got a big actor with Lawrence Fishburne, who I happen to really, really like. And I loved that they made the decision to say, hey, we're going to bring in this big guy because this really is an important role to the Superman mythos, but we're also not going to overuse the character in a way that, like, derails the people that you really need to have your focus on. I could see doing that with a Lex Luthor and then have him revealed at the end. And who's to say that they won't do that? Because that I actually do agree with. I thought you were getting into the kind of deep character development that we got into with Smallville, and I just don't see that. I don't see that, because you were referencing Smallville. I'm like, there's no time to do all that.
Yeah, I wasn't talking that deep. I was throwing out the Smallville reference just because that's the Luthor I really like, just how that character builds and grows. With a movie, you don't have that. You're Lawrence Fishburne, exactly. He would just be a little blip here, a little blip there. Like the main villain scenes, he would just be a little blip there. And you're thinking, oh, okay, he's really nothing. Well, at the end of the movie, in the flashback sequences, you see, no, he manipulated that situation. Oh, you saw this little bit where this train derailed. Well, guess what? Here's why I did this. And this little scene, oh, here's why that happened. Just little blitz here, just to kind of give you that little extra 10-second more of film. See, he was really the villain the entire time. Yeah, I think that would be a great way to handle Lex in the movie. And then the next movie, Lex is the main villain.
And you could have it with Lex coming in, because you've already seen LexCorp in the first Man of Steel movie. You could have Lex coming in and being a part of the cleanup crew, where he's using his philanthropic efforts and his money to be the savior of Metropolis, so to speak. Actually playing off that thing that we all know is a part of Lex's inner being. And you could have him come in those moments, even when Batman and Superman are fighting, whatever is going to lead to that. And, have him, like you said, at the end be the puppet master all along. I don't know. It's interesting. To me, what's going to be an interesting driving force of this film is, if it's Batman versus Superman, are these two going to start off fighting? If they do, what is going to be the catalyst to get them fighting? And what is ultimately going to bring them together? Because they got to come together at the end, right? There's got to be a common threat. And what is that threat? Is it Lex? Is it something else driven by Lex? We don't know yet what that's going to look like. And I'm insanely interested in it. As far as the casting goes, going back to your original question, I think the casting's great. That great actor to play Lex Luthor. I love it. And it all goes back to script, though.
Yeah.
The script is going to be really the key to all this. The difference between a good superhero movie and a great superhero movie is not just script, You've got to have a great script with a great director and quality acting talent. When you've got all that and they come together, those are the ones that are our short list films that we go back to over and over and over again, even when they arguably become a little dated. You know, I'll go back to Superman the movie. Is it a little dated now? Yeah, I guess. There's something timeless about it, though, because of the quality. You know, and that's where you can look back and say, yes, it's a very dated film, but Casablanca is too, technically. But it's instantly rewatchable because of the fact that it's just a quality movie. There's so many throughout history that you can look back on film-wise and just say, these films have a quality. I love the Marx Brothers. I'm a huge fan of the Marx Brothers. I can watch those films over and over again. There are things in those films that are clearly dated because obviously they're from, you know, such a long era long ago. Yet, there's elements of it in the storytelling and the delivery of the humor that are timeless and actually, arguably, were ahead of their time. So this has the potential, if done right, to be one of those types of films. I want it to succeed. I don't understand all these people that right out of the get-go are immediately down on it. This is going to be the worst film ever. This is going to stink. And just try to generate negative buzz. To me, if you're a geek and you've always wanted to see Batman and Superman on the screen, you want this film to be a home run. Ben Affleck's a really good actor when given the right scripts in the right movies. I want this to be one of those scripts. Henry Cavill's proven that he's got the chops. There's been times where I was like, and when he looked like Christopher Reeve, and I would say the reason why it's because Christopher Reeve is kind of our iconic Superman. You could also say that there were points in times where he was channeling his inner George Reeves. You know, I mean, there's certain concrete elements of Superman, and you know, Kurt Swan's artwork was also channeled in that movie. But then yet there was something new and fresh and unique to Henry Cavill. I want to see the same thing for Ben Affleck. I want this to succeed. I'm excited. I think the talent's there, the script needs to match, and the directing of the film needs to match as well. I want that to happen. I'm not sitting here going, oh my God, it's going to suck. I'm walking in with the intention that I want this to be the film that I want to enjoy. I'm looking forward to more casting news. The idea of casting him as Lex Luthor, brilliant. I'm in. You know, you've got, on paper, this looks good.
Oh yeah, and even though I may have said, you know, I'm actually 100% for him because, as I said, he is a phenomenal actor who would definitely do justice to my favorite villain. So I'm all for him. Or if they go somewhere else, again, I trust the creative forces behind this project. So I'm trusting them, you know, to see what happens, and you know, I am very eager and excited to see this movie. And it kind of stinks how long we have to wait. I don't want to wait that long. I want it tomorrow.
I do, and I'll tell you why. Because I want it done right.
So you're more patient than I am.
No. I'm getting what you're saying. I think the reason why I'm saying that, and the reason why, and I probably frustrate people when I said on the show multiple times, and I've even said in our forums, or I guess Facebook group is our forums. One of my feelings is that a lot of times they get a good idea and they pump it out so fast that they make a mistake. The script wasn't double checked. It was rushed. Something was rushed. They threw a director in there maybe that didn't have the chops for the film in question, or just rushed to get an actor in. I don't think that has been done in any of the stages of the DC films lately. And I'm saying this as somebody who's loved what Nolan did with his, what happened with Man of Steel. I want to see that kind of care and careful approach to them. Do I echo your sentiments that if there was some way to get in a time machine and jump ahead so I could see that film tomorrow, would I do it? Yes. But I would still maintain that I want it put out when it's done and done right, instead of having it out next summer just to get it out there at a certain date. If that makes sense.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, I agree with you on that. Mm-hmm. I'm just, you know, it's, you know, I want it. I want it now. It's the impatience of, you know, that is me. You know,
and I do too. So let me clarify that. I'm just as excited for it as you. I think as these news tidbits come out, see, that's the kind of stuff I do get excited for. Except I do find nowadays that a lot of times I get crabby fast with the instant negativity. Like, it's almost like you've got a certain group of people. I don't mind the person that just says, I'm not usually an Affleck fan, so I'm a little underwhelmed by that because I'm not an Affleck fan. I'm okay with that kind of comment. It's more these people that are instantly assuming that this is going to be like you mentioned earlier. I saw people reacting, this is going to be the worst movie ever. How on earth do you make that judgment call? I mean, like, really? To me, you're clearly not a fan when you start thinking that way.
Yeah, the one that got me, and again, if people have right to their own opinions, but the one that angered and annoyed me was everyone who said, "Oh, I'm not going to see it now." Really? So you're such a big fan that you want to see it, but I'm not going to see it now. I'm like that. That's the one that angered me because I was just like, that's it. Just people are saying, "Oh, I'm just." Again, the movie's not even made yet. How can people make a judgment on it simply by the actor?
I hope it's the greatest.
Actor, and it just
Jim, then I hope it's the greatest superhero movie ever, and that person genuinely misses out on it because they were boneheaded enough to say that. Now, if the movie comes out and there's a lot of, like reviews and their friend sees it and they hear, like it was underwhelming or something like that and they decide not to go see it, I get that. But like to make a blanket statement like that right now, if you're a fan of Superman and Batman, why would you not want this to work? You know what I mean? That's like that's a person who really doesn't want it to work. Like, I want it to work. I will be sorely disappointed if I'm wrong and like Ben Affleck was a poor choice. And here's what can happen with that, and this will happen from time to time. Even in the best scenario where you could sit there and say, okay, everything's lined up, there could be an issue where an actor and a director have a different vision of that role, and that can derail a movie. So I'm hoping this decision was made in cooperation where the director's in on this, the casting. I'm hoping all the stars are lined up where there's a common vision moving forward, because the best laid plan on paper can instantly go wrong with one of those pieces not being linked. And I want that all to work. I want the script to match Affleck's vision for how he sees Batman. I want the director's view of how Batman's being seen and Superman and their relationship to match up. So when we see this on the screen, it's dynamic, it's interesting and exciting in the way that we as fans want it delivered. If it's a story that's a little off maybe the path that I'm thinking right now, like we threw out a potential scenario. Do I think it needs to stick to that scenario that I threw out? No, not at all. Do something that shocks me. I don't care, as long as it's really good and true to the subject material that we all know and love. You got so much history to pull from that I hope they're inspired by the great work of the comic creators that have come before, because there's so much interaction with Batman and Superman. Oh my gosh, you've got like a wonderful Bible to pull from to do this perfectly right. So, and that's, I think, the advantage of focusing on two heroes at first and branching out from there is just that. I think about when Black Widow appeared in the Iron Man movie before Avengers. That type of thing worked really well. This has the potential to have that kind of thing. Like, I thought Black Widow was a great character in Iron Man. So I would love to see that kind of thing happen with this Superman-Batman thing, where then it leads to a bigger team movie. And I want that to succeed, and I want it to be successful in a satisfying way. So I hope that the creative powers that be have a direction in mind, and I want to see this work. And, I will be sorely disappointed if it doesn't. But I'm not hoping for that. And I don't need to, I don't need to sit there and say, oh, this is terrible casting. I want this, I'm not going to go see it. I want them to surprise me and make me think it's even better than I'm thinking right now.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And, like, the story I threw out there, if they do something different, but they do something good, I'll be happy with it. Again, I'm not a writer. I'm like everybody else. I got an idea in my head. There's a big difference between creating an idea and crafting a story. So let's let the professionals, let the guys who actually do create this stuff go to work. We've seen this creative team. They know what they're doing. I have faith in them, and I'm confident I am going to get a great story. And I'm looking forward to the third movie, the fourth movie, the Justice League movie, other superhero movies. Let's keep this positive energy going. Yeah. Let's Let's look at, and hope for and wait for the good, and not go, oh, this is going to be terrible. The online community and, the general, geek culture out there, they killed the Wonder Woman TV show and possibly Wonder Woman movies when they just announced the concept and everyone tore it apart. TV studio got scared. They're like, hey, the fans who should be jumping for joy for this just ripped our idea apart. We're not even going to create this. We're not going to put it out there. So, we gotta, the people behind the money behind these movie projects, they don't recognize that, we're throwing out you throw out the anger, you throw out the negativity, and it's just more of an open discussion. They just see that, they worry about the multiple millions of dollars they're going to put into it, and they run scared, and we get nothing. Because to them, they would rather not make any money than lose money.
But here's the thing in their defense as well. I think a person from the general public who's maybe a casual Batman or Superman fan, maybe they don't read the comics, or maybe they're coming on from a video game standpoint or something like that, whatever, and is highly interested in this because of that. You go on the internet and you see like thread after thread after thread after every news article about this film with people tearing it to shreds because this actor or that actor has been cast sight unseen. There's not a trailer. I mean, we haven't. You get a trailer and you're kind of like, I just saw that trailer and this is just not my idea of a. Then I can give a little bit more leeway to that, if that makes sense, because you got partial product there that you can look at and say, tone of this just does not match my thoughts. To me, the Man of Steel trailers, when I started seeing those roll in, that just got me more excited for the film. And I'm hoping I get the same thing from this movie. This is part of the reason why, though, it's so hard to roll out superhero films. Because usually these people that complain the most, right from the get-go, sight unseen, are also the same people who say, well, how come there's not a Wonder Woman film? How come there's not an Aquaman film? Well, it's because you got the big two and they're going to be in a movie, and the second they cast somebody, you're tearing it to shreds saying you're not going to go see it. So why would that make the studio go say, hey, this is time to really push ahead with a Flash movie, or something like that? You know what I mean?
I agree completely.
We should be the ambassadors saying, hey, let's give this film a chance. We want this to succeed. I want Ben Affleck to show us a side of his acting ability, and I don't want to hear any more of this nonsense that it's only, that Batman has to somehow be diminished in order to show that Ben Affleck can play the role. I'm going to go on the opposite end. I want Ben Affleck to step up to play Batman, because Batman's complexity. And I want him to go into that role and hit a home run and show us a side of him that we've never seen in any other film, because he gets the character. We don't need to tear down Batman to do that. And he's not doing it. It's the people defending him. I've seen that. You don't have to do that. It showed that, to me, Ben Affleck's, the type of actor that can step up and do that. And that's the way this should be viewed. Like, we're going to see something where the psychology of Batman in this film with Batman and Superman is explored in a way that we haven't seen it explored yet, to a level that because of his interactions with Superman. That's what I want from this film. So as fans, we should be demanding that. And we should be saying, hey, wait a minute. This is the casting that we want. We want this guy to succeed. Here's what we want him to do. Really get into the head of Batman. Get into the psychology of this guy. How Superman has trouble understanding him because of that psychology. Give suggestions. Give them positive, goals for the film that you would really like to see. So that way, as a fan community, we can actually drive a direction. There's nothing that I've seen so far posted by the fan community that would give them any kind of feedback. And I'm not saying there's some positive fans out there doing that, but we as fans overall, overwhelmingly, and if you're a fan of, Batman and Superman, should be screaming, hey, when you're doing the film, make sure to include this. Give them that positive feedback. Let's use that energy, what we know about these characters, to help drive a direction for this film, because this could be a deep psychological thriller. You got two characters that in philosophy, in many ways, are polar opposites. On film, that could be spectacular. I want to see that.
Oh, my brother, testify.
So So that's the kind of stuff I want to see.
Oh, God, yeah.
Go ahead.
And it's funny, as you're talking, I'm just nodding my head going, yes, 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 give me more.
Hey, speaking of DC and media, you were mentioning earlier this week, and we'll talk quickly about this because I do want to get into continuing our Trinity War discussion because we plan to wrap that up next week, or our next episode, which actually will be next week because I should be back on a normal schedule finally. I want to talk about the two cartoons that have come out, Teen Titans Go and Beware the Batman. You mentioned that we should be discussing these, and I want to at least do a casual discussion about... Can we start with Beware the Batman first?
Oh, sure.
How current are you on this? Have you watched all of it, or have you just caught broken episodes? Or
the last one I saw was the Metamorpho.
Cool.
I haven't had a chance beyond that one yet.
How cool was that, though?
Oh, yeah. But you know what? I got to admit, when the first episode of the Beware the Batman, I was like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. But after second, third, every time I'm watching one more, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of digging this, and I'm especially liking Alfred.
Me too.
He was a character. It took a couple episodes for me to go, okay, this is a good Alfred. I like this character. And just the general vibe, the general feel for it. It's a different person. It's a different style. But it still has some of those same, cool Batman moments that I got from all the previous, the different other Batman cartoons I watched. And I always needed to have that, continuation of the story, development of the character, development of the hero. And I like seeing that in this younger version, the newer Batman hitting the ground and just, as he's going through the process.
Are you getting, to a certain extent, like a Batman Earth 1 vibe? The Jeff Johns, Gary Frank? And here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's identical to that, but the Alfred role, I think, is a little bit more of like a hybrid of that and maybe the current, New 52 Alfred, which I quite like. To me, it feels like it's Elseworlds, but...
Yeah.
It's very much at its core like how I would see Bruce Wayne at this stage in his career. I like the use of Katana in this. I think it's really kind of a cool role. She's kind of brought in as the Cassie Kane kind of role in this, which I really like. But yet, with a Katana vibe to it as well. And I just kind of like the relationship between the two of them and how it's working out in this. I think it's just a really good cartoon so far. And I like that it's not dumbed down. I do feel like I'm reading like an Elseworlds version of Batman that is very modern, very today, but sticks to the core values of what I expect in Batman. And it's exploring an era of Batman that we really haven't seen explored in animation to this level. And I think it's cool. I'm just really digging it so far. I'm with you. Your comments earlier where you said like the first episode where you're kind of like, I'm not sure about Alfred. I was in the exact same place. By the second one that I saw, for whatever it was, it like started to click for me. And I think it's just one of those shows that and I would encourage anybody here that if you dismissed it after only one episode, whether you start at the beginning or not, you should try watching a second one because it really does watch differently after you've gotten a taste for one of them and you kind of know what's going on. Then you can kind of just enjoy it. Because I'm really digging it. It's a little bit of a different take. I love the animation style. Are you into that? I mean, because
that was part of the thing I had to get adjusted to. Because when it comes to a lot of the animation, I can go with the groove and different styles don't completely throw me off. But I had such a lock on what the character should look like, that when I was given a new style, it took adjustments. And I think that was also part of the period, the growth period for me. I'd say 3 episodes, it took to completely get used to the characterizations, get used to the look, get the feel for it, and actually make, is what actually let me make a good decision that, yes, I like this. Yes, I'm going to continue recording this. I'm going to continue watching this. But it did take 3 episodes, and it's just, a comfort to get used to it. Just, it's a different look. It's a different character, but it's still, at his heart and soul, the same Batman. We're still getting a great Batman story. We're still getting cool Gotham story. We're still getting a neat Alfred. We're getting great supporting cast. We're getting the stuff that we always gush about in a Batman story. It's not just about Batman. It's got to be about his surroundings. And as I said, 3 episodes it took me to get the groove going and get the feel and understanding for this Gotham City. And I got to say, I'm a fan of the show now.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I really like is the vulnerability of Batman. And let me clarify that. I agree with everything you're saying. It's very much Batman. He's trained. It's clear that he's trained. And he's not bumbling. I don't mean it that way. What I mean is because of the fact that he's not so much a rookie, but very early in his career, there are mistakes that are made along the way, or things that he hasn't encountered before, things that are new to him. This is a Batman that is growing and developing. He's got mad skills, and it's really cool to see that. He's confident, and he should be. But there's times where like a villain will get a jump on him or something like that in a way that makes sense. It's not cheesy. It's totally doesn't diminish the character. I like the placement in the time period for Batman. There's a sense of danger in something that we know that this guy's going to keep going on, yet there's times where I feel like he's in danger, and I really like that. I like that sense of disbelief in a character that we know is not going to die in the show. And there's something about that I find interesting.
Oh, definitely. Again, I'm sitting here listening to you talk. I'm nodding my head going, yeah, exactly. That's the group I got.
I like when he's been like kind of testing Kitana.
Yeah.
To kind of see, does she have the skill set that Alfred's saying? He needs to have that kind of knowledge for himself, and there's something about that I really like. And I also like at times, the relationship with him and Jim Gordon, how they're not best friends yet. These things, on the level that we're used to seeing these guys. I like that Alfred doesn't always approve. There's something about saying that this is the building blocks. We're seeing these pieces. They're going to become those people.
Yeah.
But they haven't gotten there yet. I really like that. It's refreshing.
Those are solid parts of a year 1 or year 0 story where we are seeing the growth of the friendship. We know what's going to happen. We know, these two are going to become best friends and they're going to be trusted confidants and whatnot. But you need, every story has a beginning, and we're getting that beginning. We're seeing the groundwork. We're seeing the foundation of the trust. Because you think about it, that is what Gordon and Batman have. They have a trust in each other that Gordon trusts that Batman's not going to kill. He's not going to be an increase to the problem, but he's there to fight for Gotham. And Bats has got to trust that Gordon's the right man for the job. That Gordon is that true, honest, good cop. You got to see that foundation grow. And that, I think, is something that I'm really enjoying about it. And it's one of the reasons I like the serialized stories in cartoons where it's, every week it's a build on the previous story. Every week the story and the characters develop. That's what we get in our comic book. So let's get it in our animation.
Yeah. I agree. Now, what do you think about Teen Titans Go?
Well, here's the thing. I just said about the serialization, the story development, and all that, how I love that in my cartoon. That, for me, was the biggest obstacle I had with the Teen Titans, because the previous version, they always had that growth of the character. They always had that build-up, and I really enjoy that in a cartoon. So to go back to this where it's a 15-minute skit where there's not really... there's no callback to the previous episode, that did throw me. And again, it took, a good 3 episodes. And by episodes, I mean 3 weeks worth of watching, because there's like 2 episodes per week, with the 2 15-minute episodes. But it did take multiple weeks for me to get back to it. And it had to be, it was the boys' night out, girls' night out episode, where it had me laughing out loud. And I was like, okay, you know what? This isn't a continuation of story. This isn't going to be a deep, in-depth thing. This is just going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
And just when the boys were walking, just the way they had them kind of strutting with the music, and they're like, yeah, boys night out. We're getting crazy. I'm laughing hysterically going, okay, you know what? This is just a fun episode. This is just enjoyment, entertaining. Let's go with it. And yeah, I think it was that point in time when like, all right, I'm all in on Titans as well. And it's a completely different story. It's different than what I had before, what I so enjoyed in Teen Titans before. But you know what? There's still a place for it. There's still a laugh point to it. And yeah, I was, just you need that chuckle. You need that funny moment. Well, guess what? You watch those episodes, you're going to be laughing by the end.
I wish, because I don't feel that, like, Teen Titans, even though there's characters from Teen Titans that were in the Young Justice show, we were having shorts involving the Teen Titans similar to this that were airing on the DC Nation portion during the time Young Justice was airing. So, that precedent was already set that you don't need to have one without the other. I wish they had found a way to extend the block and keep the Green Lantern cartoon and Young Justice. Because I'm liking both of these new shows. I think they're great. I would love to have back Green Lantern and Young Justice along with them. Because I felt like they were unique and different enough that this would have been a really great 2-hour block.
Yeah. And when I'm throwing out the comparison to Teen Titans, I'm not actually even talking about Young Justice. I'm talking about the Teen Titans Go that was... years ago, it's the one that actually is using the same voices and very similar animation to this current Teen Titans. Because that one, for me, it had the fun look to it, but it was the continuation. It was a serialized where there were plot lines that developed and grew, whereas they still kind of, week to week did keep some separation, but there was some growth of the characters. And that's the Teen Titans I was, thinking about, and that was the Titans I was comparing this one to. So, that's where I came from.
I wasn't disputing that. What I'm saying is we've gotten these 2 new cartoons in place of the ones that were there previously. We just had 2 cartoons that were here, Green Lantern and Young Justice. It wasn't like in dispute of what you were saying, because I agree with you on that end of it. What I'm saying, though, is on top of that, I really wish that those other 2 cartoons were still there, because I felt like there's a place still for a Green Lantern cartoon. There's a place still for that Young Justice show. And I don't feel like that having a Teen Titans Go cartoon right now, even though there's characters that are shared between them, we were doing these shorts. I guess what I'm saying is there's a greedy part of me that's saying I wish this was a 2-hour block, because I don't want to give up either of these programs because of all the reasons that we're stating why they're fun and interesting to watch. I would love to have back, though, those other 2 shows that they took the place of in addition to these. Like, I would love a 2-hour block.
I completely agree with that. I wish we could get the Young Justice back and the Green Lantern back. I don't know why they don't do it. They've got this nice power block that they can run with, but it's TV and executives and whatnot, and there's a lot more complexities to just saying, hey, let's do something fun.
Yeah, I would love to know what drives those decisions.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's viewership decisions that are involved in that. To me, those programs should have been aired a lot more than they were. There wasn't a whole lot of repeating. When I say repeating, in different time blocks. Yeah.
And I'm actually glad to see we're getting a better repeat of. I know the the Titans are getting repeated a couple times, and Beware the Batman does pretty good repetition.
Yeah, well, I think I guess what I'm saying with repetition.
No,
I mean in different time blocks.
Yeah, different days, different time blocks. Because that's actually how I've caught a lot of the back episodes of Titans. Mm-hmm. Is that I recorded Titans and then I set the DVR to record any occurrence of it. So when these things are popping up, that's how I got caught up on a lot of the back episodes and saw a lot of the other stuff. Just because I was saying, okay, let's see what's out there, and then I've now focused it to when the new stuff comes out.
Yeah, because to me that should be one of the, like, I don't know, it's almost the way our TV should almost all be on. I'm convinced our TV should all be on demand at this point.
Yes.
That technology's there. I don't know why. Like, there should be a release date. And, like, I guess we got, for our movie channels, we got, like, Showtime and HBO. And I'm watching a lot of programs on there that, like, I haven't seen before, or that I jumped on a little late. Like, Ray Donovan is something from Showtime that, like, I've been enjoying this last season of Dexter. And Ray Donovan was a new show, and I've seen the commercials. I jumped on, like, about 3 episodes into Ray Donovan and started watching it. And it was really nice with On Demand to be able to go through and keep watching. Then when the new one comes out, I found that I'm enjoying just watching it on the On Demand portion of it. So I just wait till the new episode's released and then just watch it on Demand. It would be great if, like, animation and television in general, because we're heading that way. They just haven't figured out how to make money off of it in the same fashion, where, television's released on a certain date, then you can just watch that episode by clicking a button whenever you want. That to me is just, it's the way TV should be, and I want to see that happen. And I would love to see what the numbers for watchability on these animated series would be if there was a way to have them air that way. Because to my knowledge, I've got Uverse. I don't think you can watch either of these programs on demand. And I would love to see animation like this delivered on demand. How many people would do, like, a search for Batman? And when I say a search for Batman, a search for the Batman movies and be able to watch instantly in a way that they might not do it if they have to add a season pass or something like that. I don't know. I just think it would be interesting to see what the watch rate would be if they were searching for, one of those. I don't know. It's kind of cool, but I'm glad these shows are here now. I hope they're highly successful, and I hope it leads to more, television, more film, more whatever, because the more multimedia stuff we get with these characters, the better. Because I just think there's a lot of great ideas out there, and I'd love to see all of them. You want to jump into some Trinity War?
Yes, let's talk Trinity War.
We left off last with Justice League Dark number 22, and that was written by Jeff Lemire, Mikel Janin, and I apologize, it's Mikeljanin, Jeremy Cox on colors, Carlos Mangual on letters, Ivan Rice, Joe Prado, and Rod Reis on covers, Brett Booth, Norm Rapman, Andrew Dalhouse on the variant cover, Kate Stewart, associate editor, and Brian Cunningham, senior editor. Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. And I apologize for any name butchery on the art team because of the fact that this series has really had some really amazing art on it. I think Justice League Dark is a very, very pretty book. I really enjoy paging through the pages. I love this opening sequence with the Outsider and Madame Xanadu, and the reasoning why Xanadu's been captured makes perfect sense. If you're in a world where somebody can see what you're about to do, or can reveal also other ways of maybe stopping what you're about to do, you're going to want to take that person out of play. The strategy here is brilliant.
Oh, God, yeah. This was one of those where, I really didn't see it coming. And, when they took out Xanadu, I was like, okay, why are they taking out Xanadu? And I was thinking it was maybe because of her connection to Pandora, because of her length, how long, how old she actually is. Maybe it's a magic thing. It didn't really dawn on me exactly why they were doing it. And I think, when the story can take it and surprise and swerve me, I'm like, oh, bravo, bravo, bravo. Because, again, if you don't see it coming, it makes it even much, it adds to the enjoyment. It adds to the excitement. And, as this whole story's been going on, they keep swerving, they keep surprising me. And I think that is, a definite statement of some really cool stuff and some really neat concepts coming down the line. Because you think about just, where they're saying this is going with the forever evil, with the heroes being off the planet, with, evil taking over. Like, oh, okay, how does that happen? Well, we're getting the play out. It's a beautiful, slow play that's, building and growing and setting up for a boom.
I love the opening page. I want to refer back to it again, just because sometimes there's an opening or even a page or a panel or something like that inspires you. That opening page is kind of the sound effects, the presence of the outsider as the outsider's walking up to Xanadu. And I'm biting my tongue so much because I've read the last part of this today. And it's so hard not to shout out what's going on because it's just such a brilliant setup, all of this. It's a great developing of the story because I love this line that he's saying at the end. Even as we speak, the scales are tipping. Soon it will be too late to stop what's coming. Your heroes still scramble to make sense of the board, but the game is already won. That setup, I mean, what a brilliant opening to the dialogue here. It just sets up a whole scene of, like, what has he done? What does that mean? This should, I would love to see this be an animated feature. Because I'd love to see this play out. I mean, the development and the build is fantastic.
Completely agree on the animated feature. And the thing that gets me is we have multiple creative teams working on this, and every piece feels like it was created by the same person. I think that is something you got to give just huge credit to. You know, not only visually are all the pieces wonderful, but the story that is crafted, it fits from page to page, issue to issue. And that is something that just really, like, wow, you know, has completely wowed me, that how well these teams are working together and telling a single story.
Don't force a crossover. Put together teams that are embracing the idea and the direction of the crossover. If you're going to derail a storyline and make it feel awkward, you have, like, all kinds of issues. In this case, this is effortless. It's flawless. You have to look at the creative teams a lot of times to see that there's a shift. I mean, obviously with the art teams, you see the visual shift. I get that. But I'm saying the storytelling shift as far as the direction this is going in. This feels like it's one ongoing saga. And it's really, really great. I love the whole bit with Firestorm and Amanda Waller and setting up with Kryptonite. Because all the way through this, there's a lot of keep your focus here because you don't know what's going on here. A lot of sleight of hand. Yes. This is a shell game. This issue is very much a shell game of pay attention over here, think it's somehow related, because, you know, this is about destroying a power structure that's in place. And you can see the building blocks of why each of these teams is going to have to rethink the way they've been operating because they've left themselves open and exposed. Not just with the way they interact with each other, but also with their own internal operations. They've left themselves exposed. And the villain behind the scenes of this one is pulling out the strategy to make sure that all of the players are playing this game exactly the way that he wants. This is awesome.
You need a strong villain for a strong hero, and that's definitely what we're getting. And the one thing I really liked is the fact that what Waller's having Firestorm do with building the kryptonite, setting up to a way to take out and to weaken Superman and to fight Superman, it actually makes sense why Waller would do this and why Firestorm would go along with this. Best way to manipulate somebody is actually to kind of point them in a direction that, makes sense to them. Don't try to have to overly confuse them or overly convince them of something. The argument between Ronnie and Jason was like, hey, should we be doing this? Well, you saw what Superman did right there. That's a great motivation. Come on. It makes sense that we should have some way to protect us from Superman. Yes, it's Superman. Yes, he's this, hero, but you know what? What if, maybe this could be the only way to save, humanity from him. Let's work on this. And I love the fact that it's beautiful manipulation, beautiful playing of the characters that, it makes sense while they're doing it in their mind. They're not being tricked. Well, they're being tricked a little bit, but they're not being, mind's not being altered. They're doing stuff of their own free will, but it's just a little, I need you here, I need you here. It's the puppet master, pulling the strings and just, maneuvering the pieces of the chessboard. A lot of analogies like this have been thrown out throughout this story, and it's kind of like, it's one of those things I really like, because you got to think about it. And the rereadability of the comics, when you start going back through part one that was over in Justice League, and then going through the present, and you're saying, oh yeah, oh cool. You see how it plays out. This is, definitely going to be one of those stories that years to come I'm going to be reading again and again and again.
Amen. And one of the things that I really like is when the Phantom Stranger shows up, and because of the fact that he's had his own series, and we're getting to know this character and what motivates him, there is that part of him that wants to help and cares about people and cared about his family and all that kind of stuff that we've seen go on in his book. But there's also that part of him that, unfortunately, when the time comes, has to turn the knife. So I like that we as readers are kind of with our heroes, but can we trust him? And that's one of the things that I really find intriguing about the character. I love the Phantom Stranger right now. I'm so digging his book, but I'm asking that question in this moment. Can we trust him? What agenda is he filling?
Well, Phantom Stranger, Question, and Constantine. Mm-hmm. All three players. What is their end game to this? What are they going for? And when the team started dividing, then they redivided it again, and then just as every piece is figuring out, no, we got to do this, no, we got to do that. I loved how all the teams were interacting, and the different personalities were saying, yes, this is the right move, this is the right move, no, I'm with them, and just how that laid out makes me wonder if these breakdowns of these teams are what we're going to see in the future. Is the Justice League going to be this? Is Justice League of America going to be this? Is Justice League Dark going to be over here? Or are we going to get the teams back together the way we're comfortable with? It's, these are the questions that it has me thinking next year, has me thinking down the line while I'm going through these stories.
I love the interaction, speaking of the Question, between Superman and the Question.
Yes.
These are players that are coming in, and while you don't know if you should trust them, you can see why they're starting to, for lack of a pun, to bring questions to the minds of the heroes, where they're realizing that they need to be a lot more careful of any move that they need to make. And unfortunately, the realization is coming to a head too late.
Yeah.
Because they should have been making these decisions before this. And instead of working together, they've been kind of loose cannons. The way that things are starting to react now is, if they had acted that way from the get-go, these behind-the-scenes villains would not be able to do what they're doing right now. I love that about this story, because we've had, since the beginning of the New 52, this kind of development of these teams haven't quite made it to that point yet, where they feel like the tried and true, I'm confident in them Justice League. They have, because they're the top tier heroes of the universe, but they haven't 100% gelled yet. I like that. I mean, to me, we're seeing the development of those teams. I don't remember being able to read the development of the Justice League on this kind of level. Maybe, Mark Waid did this really cool Justice League series. It was Mark Waid and Barry Kitson, where they kind of explored the early years of the Justice League. It was a 12-issue maxi series, I believe, that was, did a really good job of kind of developing this kind of thing. But I'm talking about in real time, in current continuity, we're seeing a team that, 5 years later, is still developing.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Well, you think about it, they come together for the big stuff, but they don't actually hang out. Mm-hmm. They're not actually buddy, pally, pals. So they still have these, holes. They still have these, okay, we're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do this. And I love seeing just where the pieces are. And the fact that the villains are able to take advantage where the pieces are, and it's the master manipulation of them. And one of the things that really I'm enjoying as this story is playing out is Batman in this, and just how driven he is and why he's driven. He's fighting for his friend. He's fighting for Superman's life. He's fighting to figure out what's going on. But his underlining, motivation there is, Superman and Wonder Woman. Her underlying, motivation is her love for Superman. So it's these two main characters, each doing what they think is right for the person they care about. And I think that was something kind of neat that I didn't really see that coming when this all was starting. Because I always see Superman as the dun-da-da out in front. Well, guess what? He's knocked down a notch. He's sick. He's weak. He's not able to completely control his abilities. So the other two members of the Trinity are stepping up, are trying to rescue, their friend. And it's kind of a neat situation to be put into.
One of the things that I really like is we're seeing them operate independently. They aren't like as a team coming together, if that makes sense. Like there wasn't a council of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman sitting together and talking through this situation, coming up with a plan that is team driven. Where as a team, this is how we're going to handle this. Let's bring in the other members of the team and let's, really get together and make a decision on this. They're working independently as free agents. And that's one of the big problems. They're not relying on the different skill sets that they each bring to the table. And that shows an area where they're broken.
Yes.
And I really like that because you're seeing veteran heroes. You're seeing them do what they do as veterans. I mean, in the sense that they've been around for a while, a few years in the DC universe. These are the, top tier ones. But they haven't developed the team dynamic on the level that it should be. They should be polished, well-oiled. They should know a chain of command. There should be a leader. They should sit down together and talk this through before making that decision. And when they don't do that, you're right. Everything they're doing, I love the way these characters are reacting because it makes sense. But we can see also the fatal flaw in their logic in what they're doing. And I love that because it makes me feel like I'm going along for a very realistic ride. It also takes these iconic characters and makes them feel very grounded in reality. Like these are real, living, breathing people. They haven't lost who they are and what makes me want to read them every month. But by the same token, they're very accessible this way. I feel I'm connecting with them. I can see myself making dumb mistakes like they're making. And yet, that doesn't diminish them. We talked about this with the Boy or the Batman. I think there's, at a certain point where you realize this is where they're at in this stage of their career. There's nothing diminishing about this. And I love that.
Oh, God, yeah. And probably one of my favorite moments from this issue was when that final division of the team was coming out, where Batman was going one team, Wonder Woman was building the other team, and each of the heroes were picking their sides. But when it came down to Zatanna, because Bruce and Zatanna kind of, I'm guessing there is some form of trust there and some type of back history, though it's not as deep as it was in the past. But just, Bruce just turning to her, and she's like, hey, I know Constantine. If he says stay away from the box, do the opposite. I'm with Wonder Woman. I'm going after the box. And that was kind of a neat moment for me because that was it was a definite, this is our team, this is your team, let's go. And you kind of get a little bit of a fight, but it's not the major, fight between the heroes. Instead, it's block them from stopping us, transport us out. Boom, we're on our way. And each team going their different route. It was a neat division and a neat separation.
One of the things I like about that, too, building off of what you're saying, is a lot of times when those team divisions pop up, it's clear-cut who you should be siding with. In this one, I'm not really sure. Like, as the ride's been going on, I can see why Zatanna would jump in with, knowing the relationship that we know of Constantine and Zatanna. I see exactly why Zatanna did, and I can understand that. But then, there's that Bat guy. I'm like, well, but Batman's making sense over here, too. I love that about this story where the divisions are not clean. As fans, you can choose one side, but yet understand the motivations of the other. It's not clean cut. This guy's wrong, that guy's wrong. I was a big fan of Marvel's Secret War, but I was always on Cap's side. His whole team.
Yeah.
I mean, when in Civil War, when they had the division between him and Iron Man, I should say, there was two sides there, and I wasn't, it was really clear to me that, like, I believed the motivations and the directions of Captain America. That was me. I don't know that everyone probably listening to that, if they read Civil War, maybe believes me. Or agrees with me. Maybe some people sided with Iron Man, but I guess I was really clear on that. In this one, I wasn't clear. And were you? Maybe that's my kind of...
that's something I never really got a solid which team I would be on, which one, who's doing the right thing. And because, as I said, each team, it made sense why they were doing this. Wonder Woman completely blamed Pandora. She's going directly after the box, full-on assault on Pandora. Bruce is like, no, we got to get the evidence. We got to figure out what it is. It's the detective. And then Superman is just... he's fighting for life. He's trying to figure out why he's sick, what's going on with him. He's it's each one had their own separate team. Each one had their own separate reasons. I think when everything played out initially, I probably would have sided with Batman, just because I would have said, you know what, Batman's the smartest guy I know. I'm siding with him, and I probably would have been on Team Batman. But I don't know. It's, again, I can't completely, fault Wonder Woman because her idea, her notion, kind of makes sense. There's a reason why did Superman do this? Well, Superman was corrupted. Okay, makes sense. Let's figure out if we can get our hands on that. Maybe we can uncorrupt him. Maybe we can figure out something. Maybe we could, maybe Pandora did something to Superman. So again, I understand why she's doing it. It's a neat story.
Yeah, for absolutely that reason. That's one of the things that I really love about it. And I want to clarify, I'm a fan of Marvel's Civil War storyline. I think it's a great storyline. What I love about this is it's unique. I felt that was a unique story when that came out. I feel this is a unique story. I think that's really, really cool that you can still get a different interpretation of how to do the hero-villain battles. With Superman and Cyborg confrontation over Dr. Psycho, and the way that Superman's now kind of forming a third party of sorts.
Yeah.
And I love that these teams don't feel set in stone, if that makes sense. Like, I could see somebody jumping from one team, and we do see that in this storyline, where somebody's kind of with this group, but then later on, there's a reason to say, like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong team. I should be on another one.
Yeah.
I like that element of this storyline where the battle lines aren't very clean. And that's cool.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And again, it's, when this story first popped up, I was thinking, okay, Superman had some mind control. It was Dr. Psycho. It was this. And, as it's playing out, it's kind of neat to see where it's coming from and what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, one of the things that I really like is when Waller comes in and is saying it's time to restrain Superman. You start seeing, like, a different sort of battle line being drawn with Green Arrow.
Yeah.
What I really like about this is I've really grown to be very fond of the character development of Green Arrow. I'm glad that he went on the journey that he did as a character through the various creative teams that have led to where he's at now. Because I feel like we're at a point where Green Arrow, in his own book, has developed to the kind of character that can do what he's doing here. And it feels right. But his earlier appearances in the Justice League, where he was almost bratty, kind of fit where he was at then, if that makes sense. Like, he's more seasoned, he's been through a lot. And I think this was what's really great about this. This really matches where he's at now as a character. And I don't know if you're at the same place I am, I really love Green Arrow now. In the beginning, when they first revamped him, I wasn't sure about him. It took a lot of getting used to. It's gradually built into a character that at this point right now where I'm like, you better darn well believe Green Arrow's going to, this is the guy now that is going to get passionate about this kind of thing. He's going to get behind Superman and do what he's doing, and it makes sense.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the Green Arrow is a cool development throughout this, and a couple of the lesser players, how they're dealing with this, how they're stepping up, how they're reacting to things, has also been something I've enjoyed on this. But just your comments on Arrow is definitely spot on for me. Because again, it's different creative teams dealing with the character, his own title. Kind of, I was like, okay, where are we going? Let's get a direction. Let's get it going. And then you start seeing him in these books, going, come, let's see here. Then as the character's going, it's the step up of the hero, the face of adversity. It's the things that you need to do, and it kind of makes sense with everything he's been through, with the fall from big money to the resurgence of a hero, the growth of the guy, his being presented with this major situation that, okay, this is beyond just the guy who shoots arrows at things. This is a world level event. This is an extinction level event here. You got to step up. And he's looking and he's saying, no, I can't trust Waller. I got to do this. I got to, go with Superman. I got to help him out that.
I loved the whole bit with Wonder Woman and the confrontation. And I know we kind of jumped ahead and talked about the divide of the teams and how they were fluid. And we're jumping back to this, but Wonder Woman, when she's got the lasso around the Phantom Stranger, you say the box is not to blame for Superman's condition. Then tell me, what is? I do not know. Listen, all of you, Batman would rather trust this man who claims to know everything but tells you nothing. Well, I'm done debating. I'm going after Pandora. So who's with me? I'm a Batman junkie. In that moment, she'd have me questioning my faith. Because that's a powerful argument.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And as I said, I would have gone with Batman, but part of me, I don't know, if I was actually there present, seeing her going, hoorah, part of me may go, all right, let's throw down, let's do this.
I love stuff like that, the dialogue in this, and that's why I wanted to go back to that, because, there's a wonderful visual style to this book, but those dialogue moments, for me, are really critical. I love seeing a 6 Superman power-up, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that I'm really liking in the New 52 more and more as Superman's developing. We're seeing moments where Superman, we saw that Hell or whatever his name is, storyline, Hell on Earth, where he was going up against somebody who really was schooling him a lot of times, but he kept coming back. There was a determination there, a willingness to keep fighting in spite of all that. We're seeing that here as well. And that's something that was Superman. When you see those moments, that is, to me, a core value of Superman. There is nothing more powerful than seeing Superman fly off with him, Martian Manhunter, and Cyborg. All business.
Yeah.
I mean, in that moment, the respect that man commands, when they saw him take out Dr. Light, yet they're saying there's got to be something else to it. I love that, because that would make sense. He would exude for the people closest to him. I know publicly there's that question mark on heroes and all that kind of thing. These are people, John left this team. He had a falling out with the Justice League, but even he is seeing the merits of Superman in those moments. I love the iconic nature of that moment when they're flying out. It just looked great.
Yeah, it's the heroic, it's the leadership qualities, it's the things that makes you want to follow Superman. And again, those were cool moments for Arrow and Firestorm, because Arrow's like, hey, I gotta go. Shoots the rope arrow and he follows up, and then Firestorm's like, nah, it's Superman. And they flew off with and left Waller alone there. That's, again, it's a neat moment. It's those heroic moments where the line's drawn. Each team is doing what they think is the way to solve the problem, the way to figure this out. And it's every time I talk about a different team, I'm like, yeah, I probably would have gone with them. I keep flip-flopping my opinions as to which way I think is the best, because each team has merit in what they're doing.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. And that's where the story gets really, really interesting, in that you don't always know who to follow. And that's really good stuff. Anything else you want to say about Justice League Dark?
Nope.
So that then leads us to the next chapter, which was in
Justice League of America, number 7.
Yeah. Woof. This was one of those issues. This is the issue with the coolest cliffhanger ever. Because we got to see our second set of connecting covers developing here, which I love those. I'm a geek for the connecting covers. Even with reading a lot of the books digitally now, I still love that there's that image that you can grab that's a digital image of, the connecting covers and what, the beauty of that. Because there's something about seeing all of those iconic heroes on the page done by great art teams. But we also get brought in here, I know one of your favorites, Lex.
Yep. Man, I tell you, I cheered when I saw Lex because I wanted, I'm like, how's Lex getting into it? And just, the moments of, with his legal team just saying, well, we're getting you off, you're going to be free, everything's going to be good to go. And he's just focused on one thing, the newspaper, that somebody set up Superman, somebody played him for a patsy, and it wasn't him. And it just the fact that he could admit that he was upset over this, that he was someone was able to do something he wasn't able to do, was a great moment in just in Lex being Lex. And again, we talked about the forever evil stuff where not all the villains are going to react the same way. Right here, we're seeing Lex. I'm thinking this is how Lex is going to react. The villains that take over, Earth, they're going to have to deal with Lex Luthor, because if anybody's going to conquer this universe, it's going to be him, not them. And it's going to be. I'm looking forward to a quasi-hero type role for Lex Luthor in fighting off this quote-unquote invasion force. And I'm thinking possibly Lex could be the one to save the heroes and bring them back. So just these moments, these couple pages here, just again, has me anticipating the future, looking forward to it. It has just kind of, I'm almost giggly, just thinking of what's going to happen, where this could go, what we're going to get from Lex.
I love this bit that, Pandora's convinced that opening this box is going to resolve everything. You got to wonder, is Pandora being punished for discovering it the first time, or for opening it again? Is her quest like her sin? If you follow me?
Oh yeah, no, I get you. And again, because a lot of stuff is time, and just time is liquid and fluid, this all could be a giant cycle for her. Her original punishment by the council could have been for the stuff she's doing now, not the fact that she initially opened it. And they could have said, hey, you're being punished for releasing the evils on the world, but in reality, she's being punished for this stuff that she's doing right now. Because you never know with when you start getting with the time and the magic and all the freaky deaky stuff, you never know exactly where they're thinking, what they're doing.
I love Dr. Psycho in this issue, because he's always had, I think at his best, a creep factor. But oh my gosh, is this a creepy little dude right here. I've searched for years for someone that is free of selfishness, hate, and perversion. But no one is unsullied. No one is without evil thoughts. And he is captivated with activating those thoughts and making people act on them. You would wonder, this is where I love superpowers. I would not want a superpower where I can play Puppet Master, because there's too much, and I wouldn't want that power to be available to anybody. There's too much danger of people having the ability to cross that line and nudge. And I think once you nudge once, you're done. Once you start pushing somebody to do something that they shouldn't, you open up a floodgate for yourself that is really hard to close. Because once you say that, well, I don't want to ever, and I'll never do it again. Well, what if I do it here and help things out? And then what if I do it here to help things out? Then you open up a can of worms where you might even start nudging to try and fix the nudge that you did before. And you're heading down a path right now where you're forget it. I'm just going to nudge everybody because I know what to do to make the world better. It's when they're left to their own devices that everything's a mess. And that's even a good case scenario. Now you got a Dr. Psycho who's obviously got issues. Woo!
He's a little touched in the head, but again, it's kind of neat. This is a really cool little psychotic little man that I throughout this was an issue that I was like, wait a minute, Dr. Psycho. There is a Dr. Psycho that's currently going on in Teen Titans, that Superboy's dealing with. And I'm like, are these the same guys? No, they're different. This is a little bit neurotic. This is a little bit crazy. This is a little bit out there with that power sets of the manipulation and the mind control. And it's, the combination, butterfly effect where a tweak a little here, tweak a little there, but also that whole, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you get a taste of that, and he wants a little bit more, and a little bit more. And, and even when he's talking to the college students and saying, hey, no, you're going to kill each other. Well, it just takes a little nudge here, just a little bit here. You'd be amazed at how easy it is to get somebody to do that. And truth be told, you can always, even the most honest and noble person, you could always find a little bit ways to get them to do this if you had that mind control ability. It's not out and out saying, hey, walk up to that person that you don't know and kill them. No, it's little manipulation. That person there, that's a pedophile. That's this. Yeah, that's a really bad guy. You want to save the world. You want to help people. You want to, and just little pushes here, little pushes there. And, I could see having that ability, getting that rush out of it could, take you to that next level, could take you to that creep factor. And just, it's the addict mindset where, yeah, I got a little bit, let me more. And it's, it's a neat way to see this guy.
Well, and then when does it become okay to say, well, I can do this because I can just make them forget? You know what I mean?
Oh, God, yeah.
That's where once you start dabbling in that line, you start saying, well, it doesn't really matter because I know I can make people forget. Yeah. So what's to stop me from enjoying myself a little bit if I can make them forget and it doesn't hurt them, right?
Yeah, come on. I can, there's no harm, no foul, really. Yeah, it's easy to kind of, convince yourself of that, especially when you have the power that he has, when you have that mindset and mind control, telepathy, any of those type of mental powers. I have never in my life wanted those powers just because of I know me well enough to know that if I had them, I would abuse them. It wouldn't be an intentional thing. It would start off with the noblest of purposes, and it would just slowly get corrupted, and it would turn dark, and it would turn nasty, and it just wouldn't go well for me. I should never have those type of abilities.
Do you watch Dexter at all?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I love Dexter.
Yeah, Dexter's great. It's funny how, if you had that power, you'd almost need a code like Dexter has.
Yeah. But even the code gets corrupted. Even the code, if you're not careful with it, can very easily go over the line. It's with recent headlines of all these different people and just the horrific stuff that's going on in the world, in the country, where innocent, honest people are being just brutally killed for no reason. I was bored, so I killed them. What? Immediately jumps in your mind. Someone who kills somebody just because they're bored, eliminate them from the planet. Well, if I had the power to do that, is that the right move? Is that true justice? Is that what actually should happen? Where, is the problem this kid who, committed the crime? Is it the system? Is it his family? Is it, society? What is the true cause of this? If I take out just this one piece of it, I'm just taking out one piece. I'm not solving the problem. And, when you get into, shows like Dexter, because I always think, man, that, could I do that? Could I kill serial killers? Could I think? And it always comes back to I couldn't do that because I'm always looking at the larger picture. I'm looking at the need for justice. How many times would you kill off the serial killer and you're protecting the future victims, but the past victims will never have closure, knowing that, not knowing that this monster that killed their family is no longer going to hurt anybody else. They'll always in their mind think, okay, he's out there waiting to strike again.
Exactly. That's one of the things I like. I actually love that some of these shows kind of tie in to when you start looking at characters like Dr. Psycho. He's very contemporary as a character. I loved his escape tactics, too, where in Martian Manhunter was recognizing what he was doing. You know, that he was getting Green Arrow to fire at Cyborg, using the distraction to escape. He's calling for an extraction.
Yeah.
And, you know, just saying, hey, I did what you said. I set up the situation. Huh, fine. Superman. Superman's unconscious. I can get Superman's identity. Boom.
Yeah.
What a great moment with Martian Manhunter where, you know, that will be forgotten.
Yeah.
And this is the guy that's been a part of Stormwatch, you know, and secrets need to be preserved and that type of thing. Just really, really great stuff. There's moments like this, I don't know how you're feeling about this Martian Manhunter. I feel like he's the same Martian Manhunter that we were reading before the New 52, but yet this version, I know so much better, and he's a little bit more distant from the world than, our classic traditional Martian Manhunter. But, I really am finding this guy engaging. I really like the Martian Manhunter in the New 52. He's a great character, and I think I understand and like him in a way that I never have before. But I don't know, maybe you feel differently.
Oh no, this is a cool guy. It's again, I want to say I like the other Martian Manhunter a little bit better, just because he seemed, I don't know, more friendly and just more of a, the true hero. Whereas this Martian Manhunter does have some secrets. He does have a little bit of a mystery to him. So, but I like that in the character. I like that, as it's coming out, and I like the story that's being told with him. So he's a great character and a great, part of the story. But the other Martian Manhunter, I felt like, oh, that's my buddy John. Me and John can hang, we can play cards, we can, watch TV and, eat the little chocolate chip, the little choco cookies. Whereas this guy, if I handed him a plate of chocos, he'd probably look at me and go, what the hell is this? But again, the differences are neat and cool story-wise.
The whole stuff with Phantom Stranger inside the house, I thought was really terrific stuff, where Catwoman, because of her nature, the ability of her to sneak into those environments and to be able to interact and to know how to kind of charm and manipulate a situation, because she does this when she cases a crime. It was really great to see her skill set as a cat burglar to come in so handy into getting herself into the place she needed to find out more about the house, the layout, and all of that. I thought it was really great and made perfect sense. Not a character, and I'll be honest with you, I was writing it, not the character I would make as the lead-in to go into the House of Mystery, but that's what I love about this story. She makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't she be able to get in with what she does? That's awesome.
Oh, God, yeah, this was absolutely wonderful. I loved how, you get the moments where Flash is looking. Every time I look in the window, it's a different room. And then you got your Baz is trying to, force his way in. Vibe's trying to figure out, no one can figure out how to get in. And Catwoman gets in simply because she asked. She's like, hey, started just talking to the house and just said, hey, can I come on in? We're not going to hurt anybody. We want to get in there. We want to find our friends. This is, just the nice, charming, just the, it's the subtleties of a cat burglar. It's not, big, broad, boom, explosion. No, you got to sneak, a little bit of a sneaky get in there. And I thought that was wonderful. And especially when they get in there, there's this meal waiting for them. Trevor's like, no, don't eat anything. And, and Catwoman's like, hey, the house is just being nice. We've been waiting outside, wants us to feel comfortable, wants us to feel relaxed. She's completely in tune with what the house wants, what the house is going, because she is, taking things easy. She is, not presenting a threat to the House of Mystery. So the house is, sharing stuff with her, giving her the groove and the vibe to it. I thought that was absolutely wonderful. And I agree with you. I never would have thought she would have figured this out. She would have been one to do this. I had no idea how they were going to get into the house or even figure it out. But no, it makes perfect sense that it's her.
The interrogation of Dr. Psycho and the way that all played out, I thought was just a fantastic bit of material. Because basically John's going in with a deep probe to the point where Psycho's got no other choice but to finally give in. And this leads to the guilt of the Atom finally coming to the surface, where the Atom's like, you got to understand, we were all recruited to put a stop to you guys, and I've been working with you, and I've been seeing the error in my ways. I goofed. I'm doing the wrong thing here, so I need to come clean. And hopefully, on some level, I can help you moving forward because of that. I just think that's great material. Like, who wouldn't? Because we as fans, could see the reason why you'd be inspired by the Justice League and the characters that are in it. That's fantastic stuff. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman to be teamed up with them, and Aquaman and Cyborg. I mean, these are heavy-hitting characters that, like, you couldn't help but be overwhelmed by. And that's where this storyline's really doing well.
It's funny, that scene with the Atom, when I was reading, I agree with you that it was a neat moment. I loved seeing, Elemental, woman, kind of her reaction to it, and like, you were lying to us the whole time, but we were friends, and just that innocent reaction to it. But I'll be honest with you, this scene right here made me suspect her as being the mole. Made me think maybe she's, from the other universe. Maybe she's one of the secret society that's playing them.
See, I got to bite my tongue.
Yeah.
Because I already, yeah. So
yeah, I haven't read it yet, so I don't know. My box just came today. So.
Right. So I'm going to bite my tongue. Because it's interesting how you're... that's one of the things that's great about this story. And I'm going to bite my tongue and not dispute or confirm what you're saying, other than to say that one of the things I do like about this story is the fact that as you're going through it, it's very easy to develop kind of a hypothesis of what's going on. Different reactions from different characters can build to that, but you can also see why the heroes would have such trouble reaching an endgame conclusion because of the fact that they're all working independently of each other. There's 3 teams forming at this point. So all 3 of those teams are heading in a different direction. Is one of them correct? Are none of them correct? Are all of them in their own way a little bit correct? And what would have happened if they were all working together? We don't know. It's great stuff.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, and it's, you sit there and think, what, if you actually could manipulate, if you right now could take this and how would you change these teams? Would you keep them all as one solid team together? Would you do the divide and conquer? How would you do the divide? Because I'm of the mindset that a divide and conquer game plan would have been good, but I would have had different people go different ways. I definitely would have had probably Batman go after Pandora's box and not Wonder Woman, because I could see Bruce, looking at it, studying it, and not immediately falling under the influence the way Diana did. Though Diana in the Afterworld, not completely the most subtle thing, but I think she still has that experience and that dealing with that type of magic and the mystery and the unknown. She would have been pretty good at handling it, but she would have needed a detective along with her. She would have needed someone, who would actually have more of a rationality, who could do the interrogation and could do the investigation, while Diana would be there for the force, the brunt, the protection, just that, keep it moving forward type of mindset.
I agree with everything you're saying. What that team would need, though, is one leader coordinating those different divides.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. There's a disconnect. There's no leader here. There's no who is the overarching leader. That's part of the problem. There is none. You can bring all these combustibles together and make them work really well if you've got an inspiring leader who's able to get them. You go over here and do this with your squad. You go over here and do this with your squad. But we've got to share information along the way to make sure we're doing the right thing. That's not happening.
Exactly. And again, that's the manipulation of the bad guys. Also, Superman being a reluctant leader always also hurts. And I'm joking with that last comment. So before anybody yells and screams at me about that, I'm joking. But it is the manipulation of the villains, of the situation, keeping the heroes jumping. Because you got guys like Cyborg and Martian Manhunter who could use either technology or telepathy to communicate over over large areas. You got somebody like Zatanna who could actually teleport and move teams in different spots immediately with her magic. You use, Cyborg and Martian Manhunter as your communication. You got Zatanna transportation system. You've got, Phantom Stranger and the Question, who have, understanding of the occult and the freaky deaky. You put Wonder Woman, with the one team to keep him in line and make sure he doesn't go off the rails. You put Batman here. But again, this is me sitting back, seeing everything that's playing out, having the one focused central role. Now, I'm hoping that one of the things that comes out of Trinity War is we start to get this type of actions from the Justice League of America, and Justice League Dark. And maybe this is what is ultimately going to happen with, after the Forever Evil, after the evil stuff, we'll get our heroes saying, hey, we need to be more organized. We need to be more focused. And the anticipation of that type of stories being told and just how it goes through is something I'm very excited and looking forward to.
I love the whole thing with the box and the Phantom Stranger, how this was a multi-staged attack. The Phantom Stranger was put in a position where he could be taken out of the game.
Yeah.
And as he was taken out of the game, that led Wonder Woman to be able to grab the box. I have the box, and the box has me. And we see that third eye developing over her head. Yeah. What a cool, iconic picture that is. Ooh, fantastic artwork. I love the divides of the team in that moment where we get to see, glass shattering and all that kind of stuff, and the apparent death of the Phantom Stranger.
Yes.
Great, great material.
I'm going to need something to wear in a very big truck.
Sure. Anything else?
I'll need some guys. Not these guys, because, well, they're kind of dead.
Hey, guys, it's Anthony again. I want to thank you for reading my first voicemail a couple episodes back. Your answers were much appreciated, and I did check out those JLA Avengers episodes, and those were cool. I really enjoyed those. Again, great podcast. Wanted to talk a couple things with you guys, some more comic-related stuff. One thing I've been reading recently, I've been going back through DC's history because I'm kind of like that, and I discovered this run, and I don't know how popular it is. I don't know really how big it is. Possibly in the Flash fandom, I would say it's pretty big because a lot of significant stuff happens in it, is the Carrie Bates run of The Flash. And I've been enjoying it. It seems like it's one of those runs by a writer that adds significance, but it's kind of not really noted. It reminds me of Mark Grenwald's run on Captain America, which I absolutely loved and was my first monthly comic. So that's what it reminds me of. And what Mark Grenwald's run did was, a lot of people don't talk about it. And mind you, there's some goofy, silly stuff. I mean, Captain America got transformed several times into a werewolf and into a woman at one point. But there's some brilliance in that run. And, other writers borrowed from it. Of course, he's had three key introductions to the Captain America mythos character-wise, and that's Diamondback, U.S. Agent, and Crossbones, which Ed Brubaker used extensively in his run, and he's going to be the villain of the next Captain America movie, which I'm pretty ecstatic for. So that's pretty cool. But it seems like the Carrie Bates run, is kind of in that mold where it kind of introduced some things and stuff like that. And I really like, around 308 to 300, to when Flash is put on trial and all that build-up that he does, how there's all these series of events that kind of build up to it. And I'm really enjoying this one storyline where there's a vigilante in Central City, and his name is the Eradicator, and he disintegrates criminals. And there's all these multiple subplots going on. And what's cool is once this Eradicator, they all converge on each other, and they do it very well. There's a love triangle between Barry Allen, Fiona Webb, and Senator Phillips. There's the Eradicator storyline. There's, this great subplot about Heatwave reforming. And then there's a subplot that kind of, I thought was kind of odd, but it grew on me, where Barry Allen's police captain, becomes a goofy superhero called Mr. Invincible, and he's basically a guy with a pacemaker trying to be something that he shouldn't be. And I really, that subplot grew on me quite a bit. So stuff like that, and I like how they all converge. And basically, spoilers, I don't know how many people, because I don't know how many times this has been reprinted. I bought a bunch of flashes not too long ago, and I've been reading them, particularly Carrie Bates stuff. The Eradicator and Senator Phillips are revealed to be one, and that kind of resolves in some ways the love triangle, which then goes into the infamous 324 issue, again, more spoilers, where Flash kills the Reverse Flash for for trying to kill his new wife, because he's about to get married. If you go back, he killed Iris West some time ago. So, I mean, it's really a good run, and I don't know what your opinions on it are. Maybe, and if you have any opinions on the Grenwald run, I would love to hear it. I know it's DC, but that run's still special to me. It's a Marvel run, but that and the Carrie Bates stuff is really, really good. Trying to think what else. So it's pretty cool stuff. I would like to see maybe some of those characters reinterpreted in the New 52, see what they do with the Eradicator. That would be cool. I always like those kind of vigilante stories, vigilante versus the noble hero. It's pretty cool. And then there's similar one in Grenwald's run with Captain America and the Scourge. So, but they're very different storylines, though. There's no corrupt politician that's really the Scourge. It's, and that one ends pretty tragic. So yeah, that's a fantastic run on the Flash. Also got to say thanks. Thanks to you guys, I got into Saga. I got into Exo Manowar and Harbinger on Valiant side, and I'm really enjoying those. Saga is absolutely amazing. Going to try out Invincible. Referring to a few months back, your pop culture and whatnot episode, where you're talking about non-DC comics, and I got to say, one title I'm curious about with you though, Sean. One book that I'm immensely enjoying, and it kind of causes a lot of controversy at my comic book shop, because there's a guy that really hates this book, is Superior Spider-Man. And now that we're 15 issues in, I don't know if you stockpiled it or you caught up. I've been catching up on it. I think it's a fantastic book. So, it's really, really just a cool book. I hope you're enjoying it still. So there you go. So let's see. So yeah, I don't know what your opinions on that is. Really enjoying the Trinity War. Mostly, again, I read DC like you guys. DC is pretty awesome. And there was something else I wanted to ask you guys, but I may have to ask it in the next voicemail that I send. So, trying to think. I guess that's it. Oh, wait a second. I was going to ask you guys one last thing, too, before I go. And I know this is a little awkward, the way I'm doing this. Speaking of JLA Avengers, do you think it would be possible for Marvel and DC to do a new crossover? And would you like to see it with the New 52 DC characters or classic DC characters, the pre-New 52 stuff, if they were to do a DC Marvel crossover? And who would you say should be the villain? I would say I'd like to see a Darkseid or something like that, so be cool, or an original villain just for that story. So that's about it. Great podcast. Keep up the work. Hope to hear the latest episode, and I hope everything works out with your situation, Sean. Thanks for listening to me. You guys are awesome. Take care.
I love geek out phone calls, so please, those are always welcome. And don't worry if, your conversation bleeds into other comic companies like Marvel. We're fans of all that. It's one of the reasons why we started doing the pop culture and whatnot shows. We wanted to show people that we do a DC fan podcast just as kind of a focus for the show, but we also love all other comic companies. I think there's just a great deal of comic product on the show, so don't ever feel like you got to apologize. And that's not just for you, it's for anybody calling into the show, for every so often shouting out books that you like from all over, because that's one of the reasons why we do those episodes. I'm geeking out that you love Saga and X-O-Man of War and Harbinger. I think the Valiant output is amazing, but Saga is one of those things for anybody who loved Y the Last Man. If you haven't had a chance to pick up Saga, I just think Brian K. Vaughan's just doing an amazing job with that book, and it's just an incredible run. Invincible, you should be reading. I think it's a if you like Spider-Man, I highly recommend it, because especially the early parts of the run, it feels very much what I love about Spider-Man. So it's one of those great series. I am still reading Superior Spider-Man, and I'm digging it like you are. I think it's a fun book, and it's been consistently fun. My Marvel books do get stockpiled, and I'm always cautious to say that because it always seems like, oh, you're a DC guy slamming Marvel, and that's not at all the vibe that I'm doing with that. It really is more so, it's just because of trying to read up and stay caught up for doing a podcast that we tend to prioritize our DC stuff, but I'm digging, right now for Marvel, the books that I'm reading monthly that I can't miss is Superior Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, because I'm just really digging that book. All New X-Men, I think is just an amazing read. Daredevil. I've got Hawkeye, which I didn't jump on at the beginning, but I've heard so many good things about, and that's one I want to start reading, so I haven't had a chance to do that. I read other Marvel titles as well. I don't want to go through my whole list of them, but those are just the ones that are off the top of my head that I just grab every month. But Marvel's got a lot of great product. They got a lot of great talent over there that are doing amazing books. There's a lot of great independents, and I'm even cautious using that term because I think there's a lot of companies now that are kind of in a subcategory. There's like the big two, Marvel and DC. Then there's Image, and I think there's a lot of other companies that kind of fall in that tier. And then you've got like your true independents that are down there. And I think it's really great that there's just a lot of different variety of comic book output nowadays, because I think that's where we as fans win out, because there's just a lot of creativity, and a lot of this talent then is tapped eventually by the big two and some of the other companies that are out there to put out some great publishing product. And I'm just hoping we see more and more of this getting viral and hitting the internet and people jumping on these books. So it's really cool stuff. You mentioned a DC Marvel crossover, and do I see that happening again? I'm sure eventually, somehow that will come about, because there's money to be made there. The trick is, I don't know nowadays with the way the companies are structured, how open that door is. It would make sense to be able to do it. I think we're going to see a lot more of DC and Marvel characters crossing over with Image and Top Cow and IDW and things like that than each other. But I hope we see it. I think it'd be really cool, to have, and I don't really care which universe they use. To me, the story should drive that. So these are the previous universe or the New 52. But here was my thinking on why the New 52 would be cool. Because of the fact that there have been previous DC and Marvel crossovers, what if you, in the crossover, acknowledge the fact that the Marvel heroes are aware that they had met these heroes before, but now you've got this new version that didn't meet them? And how do the Marvel heroes feel about that? So we could see the New 52 characters through the eyes of Marvel heroes who have met them before. And it'd be kind of cool to see Captain America's reaction to Superman. Those type of things would be, and Batman, that would be really cool, I think. There's some cool opportunities there from previous crossovers. But I don't really have a preference on that or villains. To me, it's always got to be driven by great creative teams who've got a great story in mind. You don't want something like that to be watered down or to feel like it's just being done as a cheap stunt. You want it to feel meaty. You want it to feel special. You referred to JLA Avengers, and I think that was meaty and special. That felt like, a great story. And I want more of that if they do it again. And I'm sure we'll see it again in our lifetime. Hopefully not too long, but who knows? I don't know how those company structures affect that nowadays, or what the logistics would be to make that happen. And you were mentioning the Carrie Bates run on The Flash. A lot of my exposures to Carrie Bates has been through the Showcase volumes. I read The Trial of the Flash. I did as a kid from flea markets. My stepdad was really great about taking me to flea markets in Pennsylvania, because we used to camp out there, and on the weekends we'd go to a flea market, and people would have boxes full of comics. And, that's a lot of my exposure to the older Flash issues, because I didn't have a comic budget per se. So they were very broken runs. Like, I might have a single issue and then not know what happens the next issue or something like that. I remember greatly enjoying what I read, but I don't have the kind of knowledge that you do. It's stuff like this, though, when people call into the show and they're referencing, specific thoughts, that makes me bump up. Like I have showcase volumes of The Flash now that you're making me say, maybe it's time to visit some of the older Flash material again, just because I've got a stockpile of so much older material that I want to read. And it also drives when I go to comic conventions that I want to pick up certain issues to fill in blanks so that way I can read them. And so please, thank you for calling in on that. And I encourage anyone, including yourself, to call back in with other runs like that they want to recommend to people, because I think we all want to know when we go to convention, what should I prioritize? What have I not read that maybe I should be reading? And also, if there's people out there that have read that run, this might influence them to say, hey, I'm going to dig back into my comic box. I'm going to pull those issues out because I remember them too, and they were really good. So that type of commentary is always welcome on this show. I did read quite a bit of Mark Grenwald, Captain America, and I agree with you. While there was, like you said, some of the little things that I guess would be labeled cheesy, I remember really greatly enjoying all that stuff at the time. I think he did a great job with Captain America. Captain America is one of those characters that also, due to budgetary reasons, I happen to weave in and out of. But the Mark Grenwald run in particular, I read a lot of that and really enjoyed the character greatly. Captain America is a really awesome character that I think the right creators know how to give him a well-rounded personality and really take advantage of what that symbol of Captain America means. And I just think he's an awesome character. So I'm glad that you called in about that one and shared. And thank you for the kind words about my mom. I shared at the beginning of the show kind of what happened there. But I really am, I want to say again, I'm overwhelmed by our fan community and just the response of friends, which I really consider anybody who listens to this podcast, we are all friends. And I really appreciate the support that I've been shown throughout this. It meant a lot to me. That's one of the nice things about having a comic book community now, is we're all kind of in all this stuff together, and it's greatly appreciated.
How's it going, Sean and Jim? This is Brandon calling out New Orleans again. A couple of little quick comments for you today. So we've been fan casting for, Superman and Batman for a little while now, and we seem to have our official Batman, and it's going to be Ben Affleck. Now, I'm going to say this, funny enough, the night before the casting happened, talking to my girlfriend about casting, and we even mentioned Ben Affleck because he was on my list of who I'd want to play Steve Trevor. Not that I think that Ben Affleck is a bad actor or anything like that. I just didn't want him as Batman. We saw his Daredevil, and so on it. I don't think he was as bad as everybody makes him out to be in it. I just think that movie was not as well put together as it could have been. But I just, that wasn't the direction I wanted. But I said, I was talking to her at the same breath, and I had the conversation. I'm like, it's quite funny that I had this conversation the night before with my girlfriend, and he gets cast the next day. I was like, I'm not going to be upset with if they cast him or they cast anybody, because I take, ever since Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, I was one of those people that stood up and was like, no way, come on, Heath Ledger is the Joker? You got to be kidding me. What do they think they're doing? And, the guy had the role of a lifetime. Some people would argue that you shouldn't cast Joker again, which is kind of silly. Of course you're going to cast Joker again. But, he portrayed the role, so great. And everybody originally was like, Jack Nicholson, you can't touch him. He was great. So, I back off from really hating on any choice that they make for the roles until I see what the people can do in them now. And, I've really been contemplating. I mulled over a whole day with Ben Affleck. This goes to show what kind of life I'm living. My son is my main priority. But other than that, comics and movies is a second thought in my mind. But, I spent the day mulling over Ben Affleck as Batman. And, I started to really kind of come to grips with the parts I'm going to like. And I really think that he's going to have a great Bruce Wayne. I can see that charismatic charm, that wit about Bruce Wayne. I could see that in him. So that part, I don't even think he'd have to act that part. As that part's going to be fine for him, and he's gonna play that. Because let's just say the man he's done some great movies. The Town, he directed that one and starred in it, was incredible. Argo, I can't recall the name of the movie now, but where he played, I think it was George Reeves, you know, the original Superman. He was good in that. And I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I've been that way since I was 12 and saw Clerks for the first time. And so, you know, I've known him since Mallrats, and one of the big lines that every time I hear Affleck's name, I always go, you know, he was the bomb in Phantoms. If you ever saw Jay and Silent Bob, you know what I'm talking about. But, so now that I'm thinking about him as Batman, like I said, he's got the Bruce thing down. Batman, you know, I was talking to some people at work tonight, and they're all, you know, hung up on, you know, well, I want my Christian Bale back, and, you know, Batman, you know, I want my, you know, Batman. And I think they cast Affleck to go away from that and to bring Batman into a different light. I think we're all going to get a good Batman that we like, but I think we're going to get more of a animated series Batman, more of a Kevin Conroy distinctive Batman. Like, you know, you heard a difference in Kevin Conroy's voice in the animated series when he played Bruce Wayne than when he played Batman. It wasn't a huge difference, but you heard a difference, and it wasn't this over-the-top gargling sound. And I think Ben Affleck can pull something like that off. So for everybody out there that's tripping out right now, hung up over Ben, I will tell you I was one of the people that said he should not be casted, but give the man a shot because he's a good actor, and he might be able to pull it off. So let's wait until we see what he can do. Now, you know, come 2 years from now, if he kills Batman, we all have the authority to go ahead and mock him as much as we mocked Val Kilmer or George Clooney. Which George Clooney wasn't also bad. It was just a horrible movie. But so let's give the guy a chance, especially with Zack Snyder directing it. I have faith. I think he'll be able to do it. Now, do I wish Carl Urban would have been my Batman? Yes, I do. Hands down, I still say that man would have been the best Batman of this generation, and I love Christian Bale. But let's go ahead and give Ben Affleck a chance, guys, because, you know, the man's got talent. So let's see what he can do with that talent. I have faith in their choice. I think they're going to do good. And I want to hear your thoughts. Sean, Jim, what do you guys think? It's been good talking to you, and I'm sure I'll call back again with some comic talk.
The movie with George Reeves was Hollywoodland, and Ben Affleck was great in that. I agree with you, and that was an awesome movie. And I agree with you on The Town. It was one of the movies I was trying to think of earlier when Jim and I were talking about it. What was the movie with Ben Affleck that I saw recently that he just did? And The Town was great. So he is one of those actors that I think can do it. You're right about that it's not just the actor cast. There's a lot of pieces to that puzzle that have to go together to make the full product. Ben Affleck's one of those pieces. I think he's a very good actor when he's given the right script and the right roles. And I think he can pull this off if given the right opportunity. And that goes back to the script. To me, on paper, this is looking better and better. I was with you. In the beginning, I had a little bit of trepidation. But then, you know, that quickly started to go away when I was thinking about how much of Ben Affleck's work I've really enjoyed. Especially recently. I think he's an actor who's been making some very smart film decisions recently. And I think, you know, making this choice was something he had to go through and say, hey, is this a role that I can take? Is this a role I can deliver on? So I've got a lot of confidence in him. And I want this to succeed. So, you know, it's like you said, it's one of those things, if it comes off and it's a disaster a couple years from now, it's easy to say that. But I'm certainly not wishing for that. And I'm open-minded that, you know, he's going to, like you said with the Heath Ledger example, and Jim used that earlier as well, that, you know, it's one of those things where the casting, if the guy delivers and hits a home run, we're all going to owe him a big apology because I think we might get something special here. I hope we do because I want that. I really want that from this film.
How's it going, Sean? Jim, this is Brandon calling out of New Orleans again. I actually, you know, I was reading my books this week, and I was going to call, you know, talk a little bit about pretty much all of the Batman titles. I had my day off today, so I kind of flew through, you know, the Batman 23 with the 0 year and the origin and the big new thing with Batman, and that was good. And Nightwing, I wanted to talk about that a little bit and how awesome the prankster story has been, and Nightwing coming on his own in Chicago, and it was a good story. And, you know, I called a couple of weeks back worried about Nightwing's situation, and that, you know, Nightwing 23 is exactly why I'm worried. It's such an awesome book. Same thing with Batgirl. Man, I was about ready to give up Batgirl, and I read the last couple of issues, and man, Gail is picked up. She's doing good lately. But then I came to the last book I read tonight, Batman and Nightwing, basically Batman and Robin number 23. And I gotta say, man, Pete Tomasi, he has got to be one of the most underrated writers at DC right now. You don't hear his name thrown around a lot, and I've loved all of his stories since, especially since the beginning of the New 52. I definitely miss him on Green Lantern Corps. I like the stories we're getting over there. Not to say that I don't like the new writer. I'm just saying, I missed him in that area. And man, he has hit me again with Batman and Nightwing. I got to tell you, I'm not ashamed to say the man has made me cry, man, 2 years twice this year. There was the silent story about Damian earlier, a couple of issues back, to I think kind of pretty much start off this whole grief-stricken run that we've had. But this issue with Nightwing, it all comes to a head, and basically you get Alfred and Dick coming into the cave, watching Bruce, just reliving the night that Damian died. The scenario is trying to figure out what could he have done to save Damian. And Alfred's there thinking that Dick is basically gonna talk him down into it, and you see that Dick's not. He's also hurt by the situation. We saw in his own issue that dealt with the Damian dying, with the video game, that he took that very personally. He was upset that he couldn't save Damian, and we get Dick basically saying, no, I'm strapping up, I'm going right into it. Bruce is a man when he's got a goal. You can't talk him off the ledge. The only thing you can do is get right up there next to him and show him you're there, and that's what he does. And he relives the night that Damian dies right next to Bruce, and he sees everything that he could have done to save Damian. And it was definitely a lot of action in this comic book. It was spread out. A couple of panels I found it hard to follow. Rereading it, it's a little bit easier to follow. But it was so, it's just so awesome. It's so captivating. The art was beautiful. Throughout the whole story, you get the big fight with Damian's clone, and you get Dick basically seeing what he could have done to save Damian. Towards the end of the issue, comes out with his staff and Heretic. Sorry, I was trying to think in my head what the name was back from Grant Morrison's run. He nails Heretic up against the wall with his staff, and you see that's how he could have saved Damian. But then they get their little heartfelt moment with Damian, and we got to go on and get my mom after this, and that's it. After that, you see that the Internet 3.0 has done its thing, and the time is over, and they have a little conversation. Dick reassures Bruce yet again that Damian was trained for this. He was prepared for this. He knew what he was getting into, mind, body, soul, and everything, and he did the best he could. And Batman's gotta just deal with it, basically. And Bruce, he says he may have to live with it, but he never has to really accept it as a father. And I'm a father, so I'm getting choked up reading this, but I'm holding back. And then all of a sudden, you think that's pretty much where the issue would end. It's the big Nightwing and Bruce story. And when you flip the page, you see Alfred looking at the computer, and then you relive Alfred's night of when it happened. And I read that story, and I agreed with Alfred. I wouldn't have held Damian back either. And it had to have been killing Alfred. And I was not a fan when Bruce slapped Alfred for that. I think he slapped Alfred for it. I'm trying to remember, but he scorned him and he basically told him to take a vacation. He was upset with Alfred. I could see that, but it was pretty hard on Alfred considering everything that Alfred's done and been through for all of them. But you see, the whole night again, and you see Alfred handing him the costume like before, and and letting him out the cave. But right before he lets him out the cave, he kind of pats him on the back, and he has a little trank ring on his finger, and he basically makes Damien pass out. And this is where I bawl into tears, because you realize that Alfred is more hurt over all of this than he's led on to be. You know, that he had the moment with Damien when Damien told him to take care of his animals. And I didn't even think about it, you know, with Carrie Kelly and the big connection that, you know, it's one of the reasons why he's so adamant in having her around to take care of Titus, because it was one of the things that Damien would have wanted, he thinks. So, you know, I forgot how important that last scene with him was. You know, this is also why I miss Damien, because the Pete Tomasi, I love Grant Morrison, but Pete Tomasi wrote Damien so well, you know, especially in the New 52 run. It's been so great. But Bruce basically sees Alfred reliving that night, and that's when Bruce realizes, just as we do, that, you know, Alfred's more torn up about it than all of us. And not only did Bruce lose a son, but by essence, so did Alfred, because Bruce is Alfred's son. So by extension, you would look at Damien as a grandson almost for him. And then, you know, Bruce finally, you know, says, or Alfred asks, is it enough? Can we turn this off? You know, Bruce is like, yeah, click, done. End of an era. The Two-Face run is going to come next. I got to say, you know, Pete Tomasi, awesome issue, awesome book, awesome little series. You know, it was awful losing Damien, but way to send it off. I cannot believe how emotionally struck I am after reading this book. That's why I said, you know, I had a couple of other things I wanted to talk about, but I couldn't even do it after reading this, because it was that good, and it hit me that, you know, that passionately, I guess. But anyway, I don't read much on solicit, so I don't know what's coming up next, you know, and I don't know where we're getting, what if Pete Tomasi's writing the Two-Face story or not. I hope he is, but I don't know what's to come next with Batman and Robin. I hope Pete Tomasi's staying on this, and I wish we could see more. He's got me craving some more of him, so anyway, I can't wait to see what comes next. And if you guys have a clue, you know, I don't want to look into it, but maybe if you guys know anything, drop me a line, let me know what's going on. So I'll talk to you later.
I'm actually a lot like you. I don't read a lot of the solicits. I mean, when like a big news buzz comes across, like, you know, casting or like the reveal in Trinity War who the villains were and things like that, I follow the news sites, so I know that kind of stuff. And I do look at solicits from time to time to see if new books are coming out or things like that, so I should be aware of like who the creative teams are on them. But I'm very cautious on what I read, because I don't necessarily want to know everything coming up, because it's a lot more fun to read it in the book. It's one of the reasons why we do the spoiler warning that we do at the beginning of the show. The idea is not to ruin anybody's enjoyment of books. It's to celebrate, like you're doing right here. I'm like totally geeking out, because I totally agree with you on the Batman and Nightwing issue of Batman and Robin, or Batman and Nightwing, whatever the, you know, how the title of the book changes depending on who the guest is. It was very emotionally charged. And one of the cool things about it is it served as a great recap for what happened in Batman Inc. I agree with you on Pete Tomasi's handling of Grant Morrison's character of Damien. And if anything, I think Grant Morrison would smile with that, because I think he creates characters a lot of times with the intention that hopefully somebody will pick up those concepts after he's kind of done his thing with them and take them to a new place. Seven Soldiers was a concept book. And the whole point of Seven Soldiers was for those characters to hopefully make their way into the DC universe. And he does that a lot with characters, trying to expand the universe and bring about new concepts and new villains, or at least new ways of looking at them. And I give a lot of credit. I think there's a lot of great writers out there that also do that like seeing their creations kind of spread wings and grow beyond where they were at before. So I don't know. I just think that's something that's really neat. I like seeing character creations like in the hands of other writers where they expand on a part of the story that we never got to see, a background piece of information, and then, or something that was, it seemed like a throwaway with the original writer, but they took that and said, hey, I got this great idea where like they never had a chance to explore this. What if I do? And they deliver a story that we've all been looking for with that character. So I don't know, that stuff's kind of neat. I was so emotionally charged by the fact that Nightwing went in there, and Bruce was looking for, you know, when Nightwing said that he wanted to jump in too, Bruce didn't fight him on it. It was almost like Bruce was looking for that support and, you know, kind of going through like, hey, can you help me find out what I could have done to make this work, what I could have done to save him, how this could have worked out. And I think working through that with Nightwing and then seeing that Alfred was having similar issues and how the two of them came together at the end of that issue, I just thought it was very moving. It really struck me. And it's, after all the years that I've read Batman, I've been reading it since I was a child, I am amazed when you've got a writer like Tomasi who can take these characters and emotionally take me to a level that... You know, I remember when Cataclysm happened and they had No Man's Land and there was the meeting between Gordon and Batman. That was emotionally charged for me. There were so many times where that's happened. Bruce Wayne Murderer, during that storyline, he was confronted by like his whole Bat family, and that kind of struck out to me as something that was like really cool. There's scenes in The Cult. I mean, I can go so many Batman stories I can just keep going back and pulling out right now. It amazes me that writers can still do this to me with these characters that I've read for so long and take me to places that I never thought I would go with them. And I'm really thrilled that this story has delivered that for me. I've really been enjoying it. So thanks for sharing that one, because I agree with you 100%.
Comics you say, well, that's what we talk when we're together. I try and watch what I say. I try not to swear, and now Sean's talking just as fast as he can. Going to be a raging podcast man, broadcasting in stereo, it's alright. We talk some comics, talk some TV, talk some movies, and we do it all again. I'm the Duke, as you know now. The whatnot in my heart is the only sound. I'm the Duke, as you know now. Quiet, everyone, this show's about to start now.
I don't know who that was, but that made my whole day. So thank you so much. I never thought I would pick up one of our voicemails and hear a Tiffany song with lyrics about us. I actually called Jim and I played it for him over the phone. He was dying laughing. It was really good. So thank you very much for doing that. We've actually done on the show website, for people who are newer listeners, from time to time we've had people do Where's Whatnot Now, which were like visual parodies using, you know, Photoshop and stuff like that, where they edited Jim into different scenes. And every so often we get from various friends of the show audio parodies. So please, if you can, email me who you are at ragingbullets@me.com, and I would love to give you credit for that, because that was awesome. That really cracked me up. So thank you very much.
He did just thank me, right?
Indeed, he did, sir.
Weird.
As I mentioned before, sponsoring this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. You want to bookmark DCBService.com and be checking out this week all the amazing deals. We've actually got a handy link right on our website, RagingBullets.com. You can click and go right from there. They're always offering deals anywhere from 45 to 50 to 75% off new material. And remember, they are a Comixology and Iverse Media digital partner. Link those accounts and start every digital purchase. Start building up credit that you can use at DCBService.com. It doesn't cost you anything more to do that. Over at InStockTrades.com, Absolute Superman Batman hardcover volume 1. With all the talk of the movie, if you've never checked out this series, this is a great way to dive into this. It's 336 pages, $99.99 regularly, 50% off, only $49.99 at InStockTrades.com. I want to shout out our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434. or Dr. Norge on Skype. We love having you a part of the show. That kind of interactivity is just really great. Speaking of that, I want to shout out our website, ragingbullets.com. We have Direct Currents 2.0. Jim Durden is doing regular articles on our website that are absolutely amazing. And I want to thank Jim for his wonderful work that's going on there. I actually had an issue on, there was a plugin, we use WordPress, and there was a plugin that was making it difficult for me to update the website and was causing kind of erratic behavior. I've since removed the plugin. So if anybody listening to this has gone to the website over the last couple of weeks and was having erratic behavior, that has been resolved. I love using the show website as a way to connect with you. I love that Jim's doing some work out there. Great work talking about all of things DC, in and out of animation and cartoons and history of DC. Jim's a wonderful author, so we welcome him with Direct Currents 2.0. I also want to shout out Facebook, Google+, Twitter. Our show website updates are always sent to Twitter. Facebook, we've got an amazing group of people in our Facebook group, so I want to shout them out, and it's a wonderful community. If you have websites or blogs or whatever, please make sure to email me them. I'd love to shout them out on the show. Call into our voicemail line and shout them out, but also make sure to post updates in our Facebook group, even if they're not DC related, because that group's more open-ended to anything pop culture. It's just an amazing group of people, and I want to thank everyone that participates. It's gone beyond the show, and that's really because of the quality of people that show up there regularly. So it's really a cool community, and I feel blessed that we've got that as a part of our podcast. Our next episode, Jim, we are going to be discussing the wrap-up of Trinity War. And our thoughts on what this means, where it's going to go from there, our thoughts on the many reveals that have come during the wrap-up of the Trinity War. You haven't read those yet. It's an ending that I'm chomping at the bit to discuss, and we will be talking that with all of you next week. Please feel free to call in on our show voicemail line with your reactions and where you think things are going. We will see you then.
Bye!
Flying through space and time, 1,000 different lifetimes. Faded for love and loss and incredibly clear sightlines. Swinging your mace around, such a practical outlook. Helping the JSA and occasionally supporting your own book. Hawkman, Hawkman. Eagle eyes can't see. Hawkman, your plan. What you do to me, Hawkman. The villains are closing in, be they Thanin Guard or Egyptian. Working so hard to thwart you and Hawkgirl's mission. The odds are not on your side, and danger seems to stack up. Things would be so much easier if you